Hey now, good Thursday afternoon, and welcome to 580 Sports Talk. Brendan Dworzinski, Dan Lucero here with you for the next 3 hours. Plenty to get to on the program today, and we are so thankful and so grateful that you are along for the ride. We'll be talking plenty of Chiefs versus Titans today. A pretty grim injury report from the Titans side of things would be a pretty reasonable reason to bet on the Chiefs. And if you are interested in betting on the Chiefs, you probably should do it now because the spread continues to get bigger and bigger. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about some of the Chiefs injury concerns, chiefly among them Willie Gay, his hamstring issues. So we'll get to the injury report. We'll get to the matchup, who the Titans may or may not have for this game. That's coming up here in just a little bit. We will also talk all about this matchup and about the bye week as well with the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, Mitch Holthus. He joins us at the bottom of the 5 o'clock hour, as he does every Thursday during the Chiefs football season, brought to you by Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. We'll get to more college basketball today. KU plays tonight. It'll be the last time we see Bill Self until the 24th of November, I believe it is. It's the 24th. It's later on in the month when the Jayhawks head to the Bahamas for the Battle for Atlantis, because he is suspended for the first 4 games of the regular season. So Bill Self, we'll talk tonight. We'll talk about Louisville getting their IARP ruling today and getting essentially no punishment in terms of finances or new recruiting punishments or anything, although I do feel as though they were punished in a way that isn't really official. So we'll talk about that, what it means for KU, coming up in the 4 o'clock hour. We've got our What Is Wrong With You for today. We'll play some either or over under. We've got our weekly Thursday night football preview and same game parlay picks. I'm kind of feeling good about mine today. I sort of like mine. I hit mine last week. I'm feeling fairly decent about mine tonight.
Feel good about mine too, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah, I like yours. I like yours a lot. We're feeling good about this because apparently we're competing now with Mic'd Up, which we didn't know until I think it was last week or maybe 2 weeks ago. And I thought, oh, okay.
Jake LeBon making an executive decision on that one.
On the fly. Totally unexpected. So we've got our same game parlays to get to for today. Jam-packed guest list. We already told you about Mitch. Later on in this hour, Rick Peterson is going to stop by for the Invista Credit Union High School Whip Around. We get ready for the regional round of the Kansas High School football playoffs. And Jake is going to join us for Crosstalk coming up at the top of the 4 o'clock hour. As always, you are welcome to be a part of the show as well on the Big O Tires text line. 785-272-9429 is that text line number. You can also interact with us on YouTube. That is right, in case you have missed it the first 3 days of the week. We are now live streaming every show on our YouTube channel. Sports on 580 WIBW. That is where you can go. Simple enough. We've made this even easier for you. You don't even have to go search for it, to go subscribe, to go bookmark it, whatever. YouTube.com/@SportsOn580. Boom. You're right there. You're right on the channel. All of our Chiefs coverage, KU and K-State, Washburn High School, all of the live shows, all right there. Sports on 580 is the YouTube account. Appreciate all you guys who have subscribed, who have been watching over the last several days. We are very excited about this. Mic'd Up, they were live yesterday and today as well. So we got the whole crew live on our Sports on 580 YouTube and Twitter account as well. Going forward, we're very excited about it. And again, thank you for interacting. You can comment on the Sports on 580 YouTube, and we'll be able to see those as well. So the Big O Tires text line, YouTube, however you want to interact, you are able to do so with the program. Let's get right into it, though, Dan, with the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Tennessee Titans coming up this week. The Titans are playing well. They continue to win.
They're winning, but would you say they're playing well?
Relative to their competition and division,
sure,
they are playing well.
I mean, they're winning. You can only beat who you play, right? And so they are winning 5 straight wins. Last week, they beat a Texans team that I think Malik Willis in his first NFL start, I believe his QBR was 4.
It's not great.
Out of 100?
We've seen better debuts.
Yeah, and they still won because they ran for 300-plus yards because the Houston Texans are a lousy football team. And if you don't know that, you're going to see that tonight if you turn on Amazon Prime. I'm sure Al Michaels is delighted. Al Michaels might start calling the other Philadelphia versus Houston sporting event tonight.
Hey, Herbie's a big baseball guy. Huge baseball fan. I'm sure he'd be all over that.
Big Reds fan, isn't he?
Huge Reds fan.
Yeah.
He, I don't know if you ever read his book. It was pretty good. It's a fairly plain English, but it's very entertaining read. Talked about how there's probably an alternate universe where he chose baseball instead of football coming out of high school. Really good baseball player. This Titans team is, and you said this the other day, I think a lot of people around the football world believe this. They are still what they have been for the last 2 or 3 years at this point. They've got a great running back, top 2 or 3 running back in the league in Derrick Henry. They've got a few pieces here and there, and they've had quarterback play, not necessarily have right now, but they have had quarterback play that's good enough to get them to the postseason, maybe even win a playoff game. Tannehill's not the same guy. I think he has taken a step back. He's older. He's, getting up there a little bit in age. He was never the most gifted quarterback in the world in the first place. And if it's Malik Willis who goes, you get the benefit of, hey, you're playing against a rookie. Spags' defense can be challenging for rookies to play against. You don't want to be a rookie facing off with Chris Jones. Now, he is mobile. He can move around a little bit, which is a problem. That can be difficult. But this Titans team doesn't, what about it legitimately scares you? And I wouldn't even go as far as to say Derrick Henry getting hot, because it's not like it's a lot of misdirection. It's not like it's a lot of outside the tackle. It's not a lot of running back pass game. No, they're going to hand the ball off to Derrick Henry, maybe occasionally do a little toss sweep. He's going to put his head down, run as hard as he can. And if he breaks one tackle, it's going to be a big gain. If he doesn't break a tackle, their offense is going nowhere. So that doesn't necessarily scare me. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It's not like you've got a bunch of pass catchers out there who can run a bunch of different things, quarterbacks who can make all the throws. That to me is scary. Or, the scat back who can run. Christian McCaffrey to me is a scarier running back to game plan against than a Derrick Henry, because Henry is pretty straightforward.
Right. Yeah, big power guy. They're going to give it to him between the tackles.
And it's simple enough. If you tackle him, you are going to, in all likelihood, beat the Titans. The Texans last week, again, they're not good already. They couldn't tackle. And that's what it came down to.
Well, here's the other thing, though. Like, if you asked me, go back to that question, what's the one thing that scares you about this matchup? The fact that Mike Vrabel's won the last 2 regular season matchups is probably,
that's fair.
The thing that stands out to me about this is that the Titans have always played the Chiefs tough, even when it feels like on paper that they shouldn't. They sent the Chiefs into a full-blown crisis when they beat them 27-3 last year in the regular season. That was an ugly, ugly, ugly football game. It was probably as bad as Mahomes has ever played. He was 20 of 35 in that game for only 206 yards.
Yeah.
And got pulled. Like, Chad Henne played a lot of that game. He threw 16 passes in that game.
That is a lot.
Yeah. So it was gross. It was a bad day out at the park for the Chiefs against the Titans last year. And if that's fresh on your mind, then that might be some cause for concern. We know it's fresh on Patrick Mahomes' mind. Mahomes is not much for language that goes beyond PG at the podium.
No.
But he said at his media availability earlier this week, they kicked our ass last year, referring to the Titans. Like, that indicates to me that there's still some freshness, like that they maybe watched that film and they're irritated all over again about how bad they looked in that game. Do you remember Derrick Henry's stats in that game?
Last year?
Last year. You know what Derrick Henry did to the Chiefs in that regular season game?
I feel like it wasn't, I might be confusing games now, but I feel like it wasn't otherworldly.
It was not. He rushed the ball 29 times for 86 yards.
86, okay.
Like, less than 3 yards a carry.
See, and I do have a memory of that, because it was pretty much, how do you lose a game to this team when Derrick Henry doesn't even do all that much?
And the answer is Ryan Tannehill went nuts. And also, Derrick Henry threw a touchdown. They ran a little gimmick play at the goal line, and he threw a touchdown to, I think it was Michael Pruitt. But Tannehill had a great game. 21-27, 270 yards. A.J. Brown had 8 catches for 133 yards and a touchdown. Chiefs really couldn't do anything with him. Do you know who doesn't play for the Titans anymore?
You don't have
A.J. Brown.
A.J. Brown.
That's the main one that I'm asking after here. You have a very different offense. So I think this idea of, well, gosh, can the Chiefs stop Derrick Henry? Like, they've stopped Derrick Henry and gotten their brains beaten in by the Titans. So I don't think Derrick Henry is the key necessarily in this game. The Chiefs are going to have to play well in all facets of defense, but I'm not scared from a Chiefs perspective that Derrick Henry is going to have this monster game. He's playing well. They ran it great against the Texans. The Chiefs defense is not the Texans defense. So I think that the Chiefs have an idea what they want to do against the run. So I think it will come down to, can they beat them through the air? And the options, it sounds like, are a limited Tannehill or a rookie in Malik Willis. Tannehill has said, as he's been limited to practice all week, and today they didn't see him at the public portion of the practice. He said, really, it just comes down to whether he feels he can be more than a statue in the pocket. Like, if he can move, he wants to play. But if he doesn't go, that means he doesn't think he can move. So either way, Tannehill limited, that receiving core is limited. And if they have to go with Malik Willis, we know that as a rookie, he's pretty limited in what he can do and what he's going to be able to do as well. So for me, the way the Chiefs lose this game has nothing to do with what the Titans do on offense. It has everything to do with the Chiefs taking care of their own business, taking care of the football, keeping Patrick Mahomes upright, those kinds of things. Don't make mistakes. Play clean games, because that's what Mike Vrabel's teams do really well, is they don't make a lot of mistakes. They don't have the drive-killing penalties. They don't turn it over a bunch. They're going to make you beat them. And the Chiefs are more than capable. It's just about, do they have the capacity to do that?
And specifically when you talk about A.J. Brown no longer being there, that Titans passing game over the last, what would that have been, 3 seasons, was predicated pretty much entirely on play action, because Derrick Henry is so good. You use him a lot, but then A.J. Brown on glance routes, slants, quick outs, things like that. I mean, that was their bread and butter. That was their entire passing game.
He bullied the Chiefs last year.
Yeah, he was. And he's a superstar. I mean, A.J. Brown is a true star in this league. He's rocketing up into the near top 5 category, I think, of wide receivers right now. Just look what he's doing in Philadelphia. Robert Woods ain't that guy, right?
No.
I mean,
Nick Westbrook-Akini.
Yeah, I mean, we went through the group yesterday. They stink. That is an awful group. They don't even have the tight end. They don't even have Delaney Walker anymore, who's, man, very quietly, 8 catches for 80 yards and a touchdown. Like, that was kind of his entire career. Now, can I interest you in Jeff Swaim?
No.
Like, that's their top tight end. Austin Hooper is still somehow in the NFL. He's their number 2 tight end. Like, they just don't have weapons. So I'm with you. Their offensive pieces don't really worry me outside of Henry. But again, I'm not worried about that. It just comes down to, hey, Willie Gay, Nick Bolton, defensive line. Can you guys tackle? Jerry Sneed, when you have to play up near the line of scrimmage, can you tackle and not just, do more than just blitz? Can you tackle when you get up there? As long as you can do that, the Chiefs, I think, are going to be fine defensively versus the Titans offense in this game. You mentioned how the Titans don't make dumb mistakes. Can the Chiefs avoid that? I mean, that's essentially what this comes down to, right? And you mentioned Vrabel, and I think Mike Vrabel is actually still probably underrated, even though I believe he was the NFL Coach of the Year last year with all those injuries the Titans had to still get them to the number 1 seed in the AFC. I think Vrabel's a stud of a coach. And I think a lot of people, myself included, when he got hired, thought, Mike Vrabel? Really? Just kind of, the meathead pick? No, Mike Vrabel's a smart dude, and I think he is an excellent motivator and an excellent coach. His team is going to be ready for this game. And I think that it's not as simple as, the Chiefs just take care of business and they'll be fine. The Titans are going to do everything they can defensively to make sure the Chiefs don't take care of their own business. It's going to be a fight to make sure you have a clean game, but I do think that is eventually the bottom line for this. Don't have the bad turnover. Mahomes has thrown a couple this year. Avoid the miscommunications with McCole Hardman or with Sky Moore. That's the big one right there. Make sure that those guys are on the same page, because Moore is going to do a lot of stuff over the middle. Got to be careful in that area, but do the smart things, do the small things. Very fundamental football, I think, should be enough in this game. You mentioned, by the way, Ryan Tannehill was not at the public portion of Titans practice today. They were also missing Derrick Henry, Amani Hooker, Jeffrey Simmons, and then 3 rotational reserve guys, Naquan Jones, Torrey Carter, and Nate Davis. Derrick Henry not being there.
He was limited the day before with an ankle. Today might have been a vet rest day. Today he might have just been limited, but I'm not Derrick Henry being injured. He's still Derrick Henry. Like,
And he also probably doesn't need practice, if we're being honest
No.
with you. So
veteran running back. I would never let him practice.
You get a rest day today and tomorrow and the day after that and every day until Sunday.
Right.
Just live in the cold tub until then. The one that really stands out, honestly, more than even Tannehill, and Tannehill is important because, you throw a rookie out there. Rookies make mistakes. Rookies make mistakes, especially when they get blitzed or they have big, nasty Chris Jones right in their face. Jeffrey Simmons not being out there is a big deal because as much as we've talked about this offensive line this year and the fact that it was probably better in its last game against San Francisco, not probably, it was much better in the last game against San Francisco prior to the bye week, but it has had some issues, little drama, little concern early in the season through the first third of the year. Jeffrey Simmons is one of the most overlooked interior defensive linemen in the NFL. Maybe less overlooked now. I think he's starting to come more into the national focus, but he is in or approaching the Chris Jones, Fletcher Cox, Kenny Clark kind of category where not Aaron Donald, but still all pro, certainly Pro Bowl caliber players. That is the company that Jeffrey Simmons is keeping right now. And if you say, hey, we want to make sure the Chiefs get out of their stuff and they have a hard time running and we want to get pressure up the middle on Patrick Mahomes to maybe force him into some bad decisions, if you're Tennessee, you have to have Jeffrey Simmons on the field for that.
He played with the bad ankle that has held him out of practice yesterday. We don't know. Again, we'll see what the injury report says for today when the Titans release it a little bit later on. I imagine it'll be part of our Blue Dot of Kansas headlines. But Simmons played on that bum ankle against Houston, and he was great because he's typically excellent. But he only played 38 snaps. It was his fewest of the season. So he was on a pitch count. So any number of snaps that Simmons isn't on the field for the Titans defense is a snap you got to win, a rep you got to win if you're up front for the Chiefs, if you're the Chiefs offense. He had 7 quarterback pressures and a sack on those 38 snaps, by the way. Again, we're talking about the Texans. They stink.
Yeah, they're big bad.
Chiefs are a different deal. But this is a very, very disruptive player that is the kind of guy who can wreck a game, who can force a turnover, who can get you into a 3rd and long, get your offense off a schedule, and pretty much do it by himself. And they got other good players in the front 7. Bud Dupree is their outside backer, who's their best pass rusher, and they've got some others. Tart's a good player.
T.R. Tart.
Yeah, T.R. Tart's had a really good year.
Danico Autry's a decent outside linebacker.
Yeah, he's got 5 sacks this year, having a nice year at age 32.
And also, this is on the back end of the defense. Kevin Byard's one of the best safeties in the NFL.
Yeah, it's a good defense, and they played well, and the defense, more than anything else, is why they've won 5 in a row. They're playing a Chiefs offense coming out of a bye week. We usually know what to expect, what that means for the Chiefs, for Andy Reid, historically. What that has meant a great deal of success.
What is the record? 20-3. 23 bye weeks in his career. Andy Reid, 20-3 coming out of them. With all that in mind, are you at all surprised by the point spread? It's sitting at 12.5 points right now. That is massive in the NFL. And this isn't even the Chiefs against a bad team. Even if you threw, Chiefs Raiders out there, 12.5 would be, oh man, that's almost too many. You almost have to take the underdog. The Titans are good. Well, the record indicates that they are good right now. 12.5 is a lot.
12.5 is a lot of points. I think it's probably reflective of the uncertainty at quarterback for Tennessee. I think if Tannehill were good to go and were confirmed as he's going to start, he's going to get all the reps Friday, he's going to start on Sunday, I think the line might be closer to 9.5, 10.5. This feels like splitting the baby because, again, Willis was horrendous.
Yeah.
In that game against Houston. It just didn't help the team at all. Didn't have to. They ran for 300 yards. Like if they run for 300 yards against the Chiefs, I'll tip my cap. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Chiefs defense is better than the Texans defense by quite a bit.
Yes.
But if it is Malik Willis, that's going to be a team that struggles to score. And the Chiefs against defenses, both good, bad, and indifferent, do not generally struggle to score. So I think what you're looking at there is maybe Vegas saying this could be a game that gets out of control. And if Willis is the quarterback, he's not going to be the guy that keeps it close. He's not going to keep it within 2 touchdowns or 12.5 points.
Checking just for the record, according to expected points added, the Chiefs are 22nd in the league. The Texans are 25th. But, I mean, that's only one measure.
Yeah,
there's a lot of other reasons why you would indicate, I would take that Chiefs defense over that Texans defense.
And EPA doesn't factor in the garbage time that the Chiefs played against Arizona in week 1 and Tampa Bay. And so it's kind of been stripped of context there a little bit.
I think if they end up starting Malik Willis, the Chiefs should cover that spread. Not that I think Ryan Tannehill is going to change the world. I just feel as though you get a little bit more stability with him than you have with a guy in Willis who, again, coming into this year was expected to be a wild card in terms of how soon he would actually be able to make an impact.
Well, at the very least, you're not getting a Tannehill at 100% health.
Exactly. Well, that's a great point.
So you're not getting the guy who can roll out and beat you with, design rollout stuff and maybe even get to the edge and use some of his athleticism that he's had his whole career to make some plays on the run. He's not going to be, he said himself, if he plays, it will be because he can move and isn't just going to be standing there at a sitting duck, but he's not going to be as agile and as quick. And with a Chiefs team that likes to blitz, that could be the recipe for some big plays and a big sack number for the Chiefs. But
I was going to say 2 real quick things.
Yeah.
1, from our guy Vance on the Sports on 580 YouTube comments, doesn't recognize the logo on your hat today. He's watching on the YouTube stream. What hat are you wearing for us today?
This is the Wichita Wind Surge hat. This is one of their alternate
logos.
The
alt logo, yeah. I'm wearing my KU hat again. However, the pièce de résistance for my get up today is my Crow T Robot Mystery Science Theater t-shirt. Also, before we get to a break, speaking of point spreads.
Yes, I was just about to say, if you like that 12.5 number for the Chiefs, you might want to play that at FanDuel. And now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now, new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's free bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just sign up with my promo code Lucero. FanDuel has all your favorite bets, the money line, point spreads, player props, same-game parlays, about which we talked earlier and more later on the show. Also, live betting and odds boosts for the biggest games locally and nationally every day for chances at bigger paydays. All on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So sign up today with my promo code Lucero for your no-sweat first bet. That's Lucero. And make every moment more this season with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Kansas. First online real money wager only. Refund issues non-withdrawable. Free bets expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino LLC. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com.
Really quickly, I was looking at the box score from Titans-Texans last week. Malik Willis, his 4.4 QBR from ESPN, was slightly beaten out by Davis Mills of the Houston Texans, who tallied an eye-popping 7.1. Again, that statistic is on a scale of 0 to 100. Nobody in that game had better than a 7.1.
They should have put that game on FS3.
Put that on the Ocho. Actually, no, I'd rather watch Slippery Stairs. We've got to take a timeout. When we come back on the other side of this break, we've got some either-or over-under coming up on 580 Sports. Just getting started on this Thursday edition of 580 Sports Talk with Brendan and Dan here on the Sports Voice of Kansas and on YouTube, Sports on 580 WIBW. Our guy Vance, by the way, also mentioning, he asked about your hat, shouted out my my KU hat with the audio level bars in the background, said it's badass. Hell yeah, it is. Never seen another one like it. I found it on the clearance rack at the KU bookstore in 2013, and I've never seen another one. So I'm a big fan. Either or over under time here on 580 Sports Talk. We'll get to Rick Peterson from TopSports.news for our high school whip round coming up in just a few minutes. I'm going to go to college football, though, for my either or today. You are Chris Kleiman. Both of your top two quarterbacks practicing this week. Who are you starting? Adrian Martinez or Will Howard?
I am starting Adrian Martinez if he is 100% healthy. I'm going back to my starter. I think Will Howard understands. I think the rest of the team understands that the starter, in my view, you can't lose your job because you got hurt. That's why I'm going with Adrian Martinez. It's not a knock on Will Howard. He's performed exquisitely, but I'm going back to my starting quarterback who is healthy and who I think is capable of giving me what Will Howard has given me in the passing game. If anything, maybe standing on the sideline and seeing it the last 2 weeks gives Adrian a little more confidence and faith to let it rip to those wide receivers, knowing that he's got the arm talent that has already produced over 10,000 career passing yards. And I think he's more of a threat in the running game to make the offense more well-rounded. So Adrian Martinez is my guy if he's 100%.
I can understand wanting to go with Will Howard. I really can. And I do think right now, just based on the most recent sample size we have from both of these guys, if you want to lean more on the passing game, I can understand the appeal of Will Howard. However, it's not like Martinez was playing badly before the injury, right? I mean, go back to the last 3 games prior to TCU. 41-34 for Oklahoma, where Martinez just went nuts. He had a great game against Texas Tech, 2-score win there. And then ugly game against Iowa State, but you won there as well. It's not like K-State was struggling, right? It's not like Martinez was really going through it. It should have been a bigger win over Iowa State, too. Remember the fumble by Malik Knowles in the end zone?
And then missed field goal.
Field goal, yeah. So if Martinez had been struggling before the injury, I might be a little bit more sympathetic to going with Howard. But it's not like Martinez did anything to cost himself the job. He just got banged up, unfortunately. So I would go back to Martinez as well. You still have the option to bring in Howard if you need to. If something does go wrong with Martinez, you can make the switch. I'm not going to assume that happens, though, so I would go with 9 a.m. as well.
You and I have a very similar brain, apparently, because my either or is quite similar to yours. You are a college football head coach.
Okay.
You need to win a game on Saturday. You don't have a quarterback, but it sounds like Kansas and Kansas State are both getting their starters back to full health or close to it, which means soon their deputies will be asked to step aside. And in our scenario, I'm making both the backups in Lawrence and Manhattan free agents. So you, running your college football program with a game to win on Saturday, get to pick one, Jason Bean or Will Howard.
So this is just any generic college football program?
Yes.
Okay.
Like whatever you want it to be. I'm divorcing these two players from their circumstances, their respective programs and the offenses that they run, whether they're a fit or whatever it is. I'm also taking their age or experience out of the equation. This is not a long-term question. This is you got to go win a game on Saturday. Who do you want?
All right. I assume I will get called out for being biased here, so you can tell what my answer is going to be. I'm going to go with Bean, and the only reason why, the thing it comes down to, because Howard's looked awesome. He really has. Bean, and both have been long-term starters in the past. Howard multiple times because of injury. Bean, last year, he just won the job and then got hurt. Daniels takes over, and look where we are now. Bean, I don't believe, was ever quite as bad last year starting for KU as Will Howard was when he has played in the past. Now, if you were to say you can only base it on what you've seen this year, I would probably go with Will Howard. Even though the stats have been incredible for Jason Bean, there's also some things I've noticed where I think, oh man, I don't know how much longer I want to live with this. So if I'm going to take the entire body of work into account, I would lean with the Bean. That's hard though. That's really tough. I mean, you can make an easy argument for both of them. Yeah. I think Howard probably is a little safer with the ball.
Yeah, the argument for Howard, I think, is, and this is not to slight Bean's arm, but I think Howard has shown maybe a little bit of a bigger arm, maybe more of a willingness to fit the ball into windows. Bean, on his big passing plays, a lot of them have been throwing the ball to somebody who's getting open, throwing the ball to somebody in one-on-one coverage.
Or if in the case of the TCU game for Kansas, Luke Grimm pulling off a Cirque du Soleil move to catch a touchdown pass, right, or Quentin Skinner or whoever else.
So maybe a little bit more willingness to let it rip from Howard, a little bit more physical sturdiness. I feel like I can run him. Like, Will Howard's no slouch as a runner. No, I feel like I can run him without as much fear of him getting dinged as Bean, and I think that has borne itself out in how little we have seen Bean a factor in the ground game since he's had to deputize for Daniels. So that's my argument for Howard, but I don't think there's a wrong answer, and I think that's a testament to how well both guys have played in the stead of their starters.
We'll take a timeout. On the other side of this break, Rick Peterson of TopSports.News is going to join us for the Invista Credit Union High School Whip Around here on 580 Sports Talk.
Citizen of the world.
His name is Rick Peterson. We call him Pistol, and he covers all things prep sports for topsports.news. Head over to the website for all the best coverage of our high school teams in Topeka and around Shawnee County. You can also follow Pistol on Twitter at Peterson_Rick. What's going on, Pistol? How are you?
I'm good. Just kind of running around, getting some stuff done. But it's good. It's, if you win the coin toss, take the win. But other than that, it's good.
I was going to say running around feels like it's a pretty apt phrase here. You've been pretty darn busy these last couple of days.
Yeah. It's getting to that time of year. And then, a week from Monday, we start basketball, high school basketball and wrestling practice.
Man, that is unbelievable. Yeah, it's a month from yesterday, the 2nd of December, I believe, when we have the first high school basketball games of the year. How about that? Well, we still have plenty of football to get to. We'll get to that in a moment. We've got some state volleyball to talk about. Of course, the championship win for Washburn Rural and more beyond that as well. But we'll start on the gridiron, Pistol, for the whip round this week. What was your biggest headline from the opening round of the high school football playoffs? What stood out to you the most?
Well, my biggest surprise was I thought, especially being at home, that Silver Lake would advance. I know Riley County is a traditionally good program. The Falcons only lost to the Eagles by 7 in the season opener. That game surprised me. And then just for total, shaking your head, the Emporia Highland Park game, mainly because of the score and 147 points and all of that. So those are the two that stand out to me.
I know that over the course of the year, you get to 8-man, you get crazy scores all the time, but every once in a while you get a game during the regular season that just totally gets out of hand. When is the last time you remember, Pistol, a playoff game that had a score like that also took somewhere in the neighborhood of more than 3.5 hours to play?
Well, and like you said, sometimes you'll have an 8-man game that gets out of hand. And a lot of times in the early rounds of the playoffs, you'll get like a 60, nothing game or something because you have like a 1 going against a 16 or something like that. Never. The answer to your question is never have I seen that both teams, let's see, Highland Park scores 64, I believe, and they lose. So I've never seen a game like that.
Not just lose, they lost by 3 scores and they put up 64 points. It was truly, truly incredible stuff. I do want to get to the teams that did win from the city and county this week. So we'll start in Class 6A, and we'll go with Washburn Rural. You were there, we were there this past Friday night when Rural shut out Dodge City. And I know, Pistol, you and I talked about it on the field before the game. I know Dodge City is going through some stuff. They had some players on and off the roster at the end of the year. Glenn O'Neill doing the best he could with that roster to get them ready to go. That was a very solid year for the Red Demons, and Washburn Rural just beat the tar out of them for the entirety of that game. Offensively, defensively, they were the best team. What was really the thing that stood out to you the most about the way they performed in particular?
Well, I think the turning point of the game was when Rural fumbles the ball away after the safety and then has just a great goal line stand. And then I thought after that, Dodge City Daubers are down, and Rural thought, okay, we got this. And that's when then they just took complete control.
Against Garden City coming up this week. That's a Garden City team that's going to be physical. We heard from Steve Bueller on our coaches club earlier this week, and he said, hey, we know what Garden City is going to be. They're going to be physical. They want to get on top of you early. They want to smother you, burn the clock off in the second half, take the air out of the ball, all that stuff. What is Washburn Rural going to have to do, based on what we know about them, what they like to do offensively and defensively, to pick up another win and advance on to the sectional round this week?
Because of what you just said, the Garden City likes to get on top and then take the air out of the ball. It's very important for Rural to be right there or ahead, going into the second half. Give themselves a chance to do what they want to do and dictate the tempo of the game. I think Washburn Rural's got much better in the run game with McKinnis Adams and the young freshman that I thought was very good last week. So I think that, obviously it's not rocket science. Both teams want to get out to the lead, but I think particularly in the playoffs, you get out to a lead and you can do some other things to take care of the tempo and everything else to get the win.
Rick Peterson of TopSports.News joining us for our Invista Credit Union High School whip around here on 580 Sports Talk. Head to TopSports.News for all the best coverage of our teams throughout the city and the county. Moving down to Class 5A, the only team that made it through of the 4 city teams in the 5A East, the only one that made it through to the regional round is Shawnee Heights. That's a great win for Jason Swift's program, guaranteed a 5-win season for the second year in a row, a playoff win for the second year in a row. They had a tough one, though, against Lansing. I think Swifty knew that one was going to be a little bit tougher this week, Pistol.
Yeah, because they had played them earlier. They're in the same league. So, there's probably a lot of, there's a lot of film on both of them. They know what each other wants to do. And with Heights, that's not a big secret. They want to keep the ball on the ground and give it to their guy that's had like 1,400 yards or whatever it is now. So I think it was a good win for them, particularly because I didn't think they played well against Leavenworth. So it was a good bounce back win.
And now they've got a big test, and that is a tough draw 2 years in a row to win a playoff game and then immediately have to go up against the multi-time defending state champion Mill Valley Jaguars. That is a tough challenge for anyone, not just Shawnee Heights, Pistol.
Most definitely. And I think what Heights has to do is, okay, let's go out there and do what we can do, take care of ourselves, try to play as hold them down as much as possible. And, give yourself a chance. I mean, the longer they could stay in the game, the better I think they would feel about themselves. If they come out and give up 21 right off the bat, it's over.
I was going to say, I would imagine a lower scoring game certainly would favor Shawnee Heights in a matchup like that. Let's head down to Class 3A. What a matchup for the Hayden Wildcats coming up tomorrow night. 8-1 Hayden versus 9-0 Wellsville. Bill Arnold on our Coaches Club this week, Pistol, was very complimentary about this Wellsville team they'll be facing. That's one of the best matchups record-wise, one versus another, that we're going to have in the entire state this weekend, and that's going to be must-see football coming up in Wellsville tomorrow night.
Yeah, I think whoever wins that game, has a chance to keep going and make a run at the title. So I mean, we know how good, Andel's been and some of those other teams have been, but I think this would be a good momentum builder for whoever wins this game.
Yeah, and Hayden, I know, lost that game to Holton late in the season, but man, they have had such a good year and still so many veteran pieces on that team, young guys who have contributed. We've talked about their quarterback, Jet Wallmeyer, Jensen Trickle, too, a bunch throughout the year, and those guys are going to be ready to play. There's no doubt about that in Class 3A. One other football game involving a county team to get to coming up tomorrow night, Pistol. Rossville, 2-time defending state champions in Class 2A. They're going to take on Nemaha Central. Now, Rossville obviously lost so much talent, including the most recent of the Horrocks, Torrey, who was so good the last couple of years, the 2 state titles. They are still very good this year. They're obviously well coached. They've got plenty of talent, but they've got a massive test ahead and an undefeated Nemaha Central team.
Yes, and I think I think they're playing better. I think they're playing much better, but the Thunder, has been good from the get-go, and they may be getting better. So it's going to be tough. It's kind of a cliche, but give yourself a chance, particularly early and particularly on the road, and, just see if you can stay in the game.
We've got just a couple more minutes with Rick Peterson from TopSports.News joining us here for the high school whip around on 580 Sports Talk. Check out Pistol's work on Twitter at Peterson_Rick. And of course, head to TopSports.News for all the best coverage of all of our high school teams throughout Topeka and Shawnee County. I do want to touch on a couple of other sports, Pistol, and we've got to start on the volleyball court. A state championship for Washburn Rural, their 8th in program history, yet another for head coach Kevin Bordewick. That roster was so laser focused on getting that championship after finishing 4th last year. And it sort of felt, Pistol, and you and I spoke about this off the air last weekend, but it sort of felt like this was a team that just was not going to be denied on their quest for a state title.
I think it started when they walked off the court in 21 because they knew that was a tournament they could have won. And then I think it really got its boost when a lot of those girls that are major cogs of the volleyball team also were major cogs on the basketball team that won the 6A state title. And I think got them back thinking, hey, it's time to win. And they were I was there. and it was a very impressive performance. Blue Valley gave them a heck of a battle in the second set that they won 26-24. Rural won 26-24, but boy, they were just seemed to be in control all day, all weekend.
And we've had some schools in the City Pistol in recent memory who have had some really great runs in multiple sports. I mean, you think of Topeka High football for a few years, deep playoff runs, and then their boys basketball team winning league titles. Seaman Athletics has been on quite a roll over the last 18 months or so. But to win a girls' state championship and then only, I believe it's 8 months later, win a volleyball championship as well. Kevin Bordewick's teams are in the midst of truly a legendary run there at Washburn Rural.
Well, and, in a legendary coaching career, he has now 10 state titles himself and 3 others as an assistant to Bill Annan.
That is truly crazy.
For a little bit.
What a remarkable career, obviously, for Kevin Bordewick. We heard from him on the show yesterday in our Athletes of the Week interview. Last thing I've got for you, Pistol, let's go to boys soccer semifinals coming up here soon. And Washburn Rural, yet again, the Junior Blues in the mix here. Give us a little bit of a preview of what to expect from 6A soccer. Is this the year that the Junior Blues can finally break through?
Well, I think they're going to be a little bit of the underdog, this year, just by the immense talent that's left in that Final Four. And I think they like that. I think Coach Hensel likes that. I mean, the fact that they can just go out and play. It's not like last year. Last year, they were undefeated. Everybody wanted to get a piece of them. This year, they've lost 3 games, the most games of anybody that's in that Final Four. So let's just go out and play. And, he kept bringing up to me the last time they won it was in 2012, and they were an underdog then. So, just see what happens.
It's kind of amazing to think that program is an underdog, isn't it? With all the winning they've done and all the winning they do consistently, kind of wild to think that they're actually an underdog, Pistol.
Oh, yeah. And like I said, it's not being an underdog is not always bad. Going back to volleyball, Rural was 41-0 going into state last year in volleyball, and I think it kind of got them a little bit. So sometimes being the underdog is not a bad thing, not a bad place to be.
Well, for all the best coverage of state playoff football, state soccer, all that and so much more, head to topsports.news. Rick Peterson and the crew do such a great job covering all of our preps teams. You can follow Pistol on Twitter as well, at Peterson_Rick. He joins us every single Thursday for the Invista Credit Union High School Whip Around. As always, Pistol, thank you so much for the time. Where are you headed to for football coming up tomorrow?
I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow, Brendan. I got 4 games. I'm thinking about trying to do a couple of them on live stream and also got to keep track of a 7 o'clock soccer game. Yeah, it's a very good question, but I don't have an answer at this point.
Well, get a good night of sleep tonight and be well rested for that tomorrow, okay?
Okay, thank you.
That's Rick Peterson from topsports.news. Man, you want a busy schedule? There is a busy schedule for you.
Got to do all that and stay dry. So
yeah, no
going to be a wet one tomorrow.
Yeah, Pistol, make sure you've got your coat with you coming up tomorrow night. That'll do it for the 3 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk. Busy 4 o'clock hour coming your way after our national and local news. Jake's going to jump in the studio. We've got Crosstalk to lead things off. What is wrong with you? Plus, Louisville's IARP ruling came down today. What does it mean for the Kansas Jayhawks? We'll get to that all next hour on 580 Sports Talk. 4 o'clock hour coming your way on 580 WIBW and FM News 104.9 on this edition of 580 Sports Talk. Brendan Dworzinski, Dan Lucero, and Jake Laban here as well to open up this 4 o'clock hour for a little crosstalk. Coming up also here in this 4 o'clock hour, we will get to today's What Is Wrong With You. Two stories going head-to-head today to try to take down our weekly winner so far, which is the gentleman who robbed an AT&T store in Tulsa, left his own phone there, and then claimed to police he was Matt Damon. Two new stories to try to battle with that one. We will also get to the IARP ruling on Louisville today, which waited nearly 5 years for its ruling from the Independent Resolution Panel and what that might mean for KU. KU, by the way, playing tonight against Pitt State in exhibition play. You are welcome to be a part of the show on the Big O Tires text line, 785-272-9429. You can also check out the show on YouTube. Sports on 580 WIBW is where you can find us on YouTube. You can also just type it in to your address bar. You can now go to youtube.com/@sportson580. That is where you can find us on YouTube. You can interact with us on the YouTube comments as well. We see those. Obviously, we see the text line. Many ways now to interact with us here on 580 Sports Talk. And of course, if you want to go check out the podcast version of the show, if you missed anything from the first hour, you can go to our new web address there as well, 580WIBW.com. Much easier now to get to the website. Many fewer things to type out. We went from 11 characters to 7. Much simpler, all for you, 580WIBW.com. Podcast tab is right in the middle of the page. Hover over that, click on 580 Sports Talk, and you can find the hour-by-hour breakdown of the show. But right now, it's time for a little crosstalk on the program as we welcome Jake Laban to the show, host of Mic'd Up with Jake and Fulton. How are you?
Doing well.
It's good to know. How was the show today?
It was good.
Good.
Heard
good. Everybody loves the list for today, National Sandwich Day.
Mm-hmm.
Happy National Sandwich Day to all those who celebrate. What was your number one sandwich?
Well, no, we didn't do sandwich. We did meats.
Meats for a sandwich.
Yeah. Beef, hamburger. There's nothing better than a cheeseburger.
That's not a sandwich, though. That's a cheeseburger.
Well, it's cheeseburger's type of sandwich.
Not like really, though. Like technically, yes, but I would not call a cheeseburger a sandwich.
No.
Like if you go to a restaurant, it's on two different parts of the menu. You get the burger section, you get the sandwich section. Generally, they're not together. Maybe not everywhere.
It's like calling a rectangle a square. Like, yes, technically, it has 4 sides. But it's a rectangle. And a hamburger is a hamburger. No, a sandwich is between 2 pieces of, like, bread. Not a bun, bread.
See, I think you can have some sandwiches on buns. I just think a cheeseburger is its own, like, it's its own thing.
I want beef, hamburger. That's
See, I would go with beef. I would say roast beef.
You have to set the parameters on sandwich discussions so rigidly because then people will come in with like, well, what about a hot dog? Is a hot dog a sandwich?
And then I have to turn off Twitter and I have to throw my phone in the Kansas River because I just can't do that discussion.
Because then if a hot dog is a sandwich, then we have to ask, is a taco a sandwich?
Is the Pop-Tart a ravioli?
is cereal soup.
Yeah, because you get into dumb stuff like that, and I just can't deal with it. I cannot possibly deal with it. Can't do it.
Cereal soup.
You ever heard
Not
that
for
one?
Brendan. He won't put it in milk.
No, yeah, it's just then it's more of a salad, I guess, in that case.
No, it's not a salad. You have to have multiple ingredients for it to be a salad. We were arguing about this, Jake and I. We were going to Northwest Missouri State for Washington football a couple of weeks ago. There is a certain pizza company whose owner used to like to say the N-word a lot and doesn't own it anymore. But anyway, that particular pizza company has a product now that is just the ingredients of a pizza in a bowl.
Yeah.
I argue that that's a salad.
Abby said she thought that was gross.
I'm not arguing whether it's gross or not. Just it's a salad. Because it doesn't have to have lettuce to have a salad.
Well, no. You can have a spinach salad.
You can have a fruit salad.
You got pasta salad.
Potato salad.
Is it a hot take to say I don't like pasta salad? Like, okay, I won't say I don't like it, but like...
Maybe I've had good pasta salad.
See, my wife makes pasta salad that's pretty decent. I mean, it's good. She's a good cook. I'm like, not my favorite food.
You know what's really good? Seafood salad.
I don't know what that is.
I'll eat seafood with anything.
What is that?
Unlike Gary Woodland.
a seafood salad. It's like chunks of crab or lobster, maybe if you'd like, and it's in like a kind of what do you call that? The coleslaw.
I love coleslaw. You guys know that. I get the coleslaw when I go to Cane's.
Yeah,
well,
you eat ours if you go with us.
Yeah, we do. Or you guys just get the extra toast and you
extra toast, extra sauce.
You don't get me.
I had Cane's for dinner last night. In fact,
your coleslaw.
My wife had book club, so I ate Cane's on my own. It's a good call. You're Chris Kleiman. You and I had this discussion on Tuesday when I was cross-talking with you and Fulton on Mic'd Up. It's been 2 days. Sounds like Adrian Martinez is getting pretty darn close if he's not already there. So knowing they're both healthy, Howard and Martinez, who are you starting on Saturday?
I start Howard because I don't think Martinez is fully 100%. I wait till
if he was hypothetically, if he is 100%.
Hypothetically, I start Howard and I use Adrian Martinez in specific situations. It's not a 2-quarterback system. A 2-quarterback system is you put one quarterback in for a series or 2 series, and then the other quarterback goes in for 2 series. That's a 2-quarterback system to me. I can use 2 quarterbacks in which I put one guy in at like the 10-yard line.
See, but here's my question.
That's where I would use Adrian Martinez.
Dan, I don't know where you rest on this. I hate going with multiple quarterbacks in a game. Stick with one. My question is, if you're going to use Martinez in the most important part of the field, why wouldn't you use him for the other?
Yeah. If you've got a Tim Tebow, like freshman Tim Tebow, when they platooned him with Chris Leak, where Tebow was like the goal line short yardage guy, or Tyrone Swoops when Texas used to run the 18-wheeler.
18-wheeler.
Yeah, the 18-wheeler package when Swoops was their guy at the goal line. Like, that is one thing. But, yeah, I don't believe in, like, oh, there's a red zone quarterback. Like, you might have a package for a quarterback for a snap or a couple of snaps when you need a yard and you got a quarterback who's built like a battering ram. But other than that, no, I don't believe. Like, I probably won some national championships on like NCAA 06 with a passing quarterback and a running quarterback. Run the option with the running quarterback, run the air raid with the passing quarterback. I'm sure I won some natties with my created school back in the day. But when you're dealing with real people in a real scenario, you can't do that. Like, no, you gotta stick with a guy. You gotta pick a guy. You gotta ride with that guy.
I would, but then it would be Will Howard, but I think you can use Adrian Martinez in different situations. I mean, I'm not saying like one at a time, because I do think it's interesting with Adrian Martinez, because he's not like he's not a wildcat quarterback. He's a quarterback. We know he can throw it. So there's still the threat of the quarterback.
But then why not just play Howard the whole way?
I would. And then I would insert Adrian Martinez every now and then.
But that's my point. Why are you putting Martinez in just for 10 yards or within 10 yards? Why not just keep Howard in? Howard can run. We've seen him run. He's a big dude.
I
got a big arm.
Yeah, if you don't trust Howard where the money's made in the red zone, then why would...
No, okay. I shouldn't have said you guys are really like locking in on the red zone. Maybe not in the red zone, but a guy here or there. And the reason why is, one, it makes the defense think a lot more. I don't think they're going to run Will Howard anymore. I think they've already determined we can't have Will Howard hurt, because we saw what happened.
They didn't run him a lot the last 2 weeks.
Exactly.
Yeah, by design.
And that's why I think having maybe use the quarterback run game a little bit here or there, because you have to prepare for it. It's another thing to do. It does work. We know that. The quarterback run game does work. I mean, it works for Kansas State. It might be a little bit change of pace. That's what I would do. If I were the K-State Wildcats, I would start Will Howard, because I think he's playing too well right now. I think he throws the football a lot better at this point in time, because the proof is in the last 2 games. The downfield throwing is so much better with Will Howard.
It is different. There's no doubt about that. Okay, well, then here's the question. Which would you rather have if you're forced to pick one? Do you go with the quarterback run game, or do you go with the deep ball or the chance at the deep ball?
Oh, I go with the deep ball, because you've got Deuce Vaughn.
Yeah. What about the games when Deuce Vaughn gets cut off? We have seen that this year. When teams say we're just going to sell out for 22.
Well, I think that's what happened with the Oklahoma State Cowboys. I think they sold out to stop Deuce Vaughn, and then they started throwing it, and then your safeties have to creep back, and then he gets wide open.
The other thing that factors in here, as a texter in the Big O Tires text line points out, is that the plan was to redshirt Will Howard going into this year. You can play 4 games and not burn your shirt.
Is he done 2 now?
So Howard's played in 2. He didn't play in any of the early season action. They didn't bring him in against like Missouri State or whoever it was that they played in the opener. Southern Illinois.
Yeah.
Yeah.
South Dakota.
South Dakota. Yeah.
It was a red FCS school.
Yeah, they've played all of those schools in recent memory. But yeah, South Dakota. So he's got 2 games he can play and not burn the red shirt year. Does that factor into your thought process at all, or do you say, hey, we're moving forward with Will Howard? You believe that even though it wasn't performance, it was injury based, that Howard's the guy, don't worry about the red shirt?
I think it all depends on how Adrian Martinez is. I think if you give Adrian Martinez another week, then because we don't even know if he's going to play. Like, it might be Will Howard and Martinez doesn't play, because I do not play Martinez unless he is fully healthy.
They have said he was a full participant in practice this week. That's from Colin Klein. Full participation in practice.
Well, if your goal at the beginning of the year was to redshirt him, then you don't play him. But I think that's when you got a chance to win a Big 12 championship, and they do. Because, Dan, you and I were talking about this yesterday. If K-State beats Texas, they're almost a lock to play in the Big 12 title game. Because as long as they don't go 1-2 in their last 3 games. Which, by the way, my secret hope and theory is still that K-State is playing for a Big 12 title game appearance. And then KU needs one more win to get bowl eligible.
See, this is spoken like someone who's not a fan of either program. I hate that.
Exactly.
I don't want to come in the next Monday and be like, oh, I've got to talk about Kansas State and how cool it is that they got to the Big 12 title game while my team just lost out on a bowl chance. Like, that would suck. That'd be miserable.
That would be so much better for the rivalry.
Have some real stakes.
Yes.
It's been a long time since it's been real stakes.
And it might not happen because if K-State beats Texas, K-State beats Baylor, and K-State beats West Virginia, they're automatically in. It does not matter.
They are. They would be locked in at that point.
Yeah. So
I would prefer KU just win on Saturday.
Oh, I would prefer that too. I want KU. That would be best for the rivalry.
Yeah.
And it would really make K-State and KU fans start really to, especially in football. Like, that would be odd because the winner of that one, I mean, the stakes are huge. K-State goes to the Big 12 title game. KU goes to a bowl game, and the other one does the dream situation for K-State. Are you kidding me? You get to keep, oh, God, KU got game day. Oh, gosh, KU, what a great program they've got right now. Yeah, you didn't even make a bowl game because we beat you. Whereas KU could be like, yeah, we're going to a bowl game and y'all don't go to the Big 12 title game. Oh, that sucks for you. Like, that would be epic, man.
See, spin zone on that. I think that only helps the rivalry if KU ends up winning that game. Because if KU loses, okay, K-State is still a better football program. KU is still not going to a bowl. K-State fans are still mad that KU's getting attention even though they're not good.
But KU
what? That doesn't change anything.
Yeah, but the Lance Leipold's changed the game, man, because I think this team
not this year though. KU doesn't go to a bowl. The argument is still you still didn't go to a bowl game.
Yeah, but if any K-State fan says that, then they're lying to themselves. And that's unfortunate to them.
2 more questions from the Big O Tires text line I think it's important that we address. One of them actually made me viscerally upset from the 785. Is ketchup a fruit smoothie?
No.
I would not consume ketchup with a straw, so no.
No, because
I would only drink a smoothie with a straw.
No, not all smoothies have sugar. No, I don't think so. That's a great question.
Made me really, really mad. I'm sure there's like tomato juice smoothies that you can get. But
you definitely can.
But I wouldn't put that on my hamburger.
I've said this before. We from Larry Latimer, our wedding gift was a NutriBullet smoothie maker. Ooh. It is probably, outside of cash, probably the most used wedding gift we got. Like, Abby makes a smoothie every day. I haven't for a while. Like, we use it all the time. You can make a smoothie with anything. Like, anything can be a smoothie. We got this. It came with a book.
Careful.
Like, anything. Give me any ingredient. There's probably like a chia seed smoothie you can make with it.
Do you know that the gift that you, me, and Fulton got Dan, he still hasn't used yet? That's
and yet Dan. I get texts about it.
I'm still mad at you for that, Dan.
Look,
for those of you wondering, myself, Brendan, and Fulton got Dan and his lovely bride a star.
From the International Star Registry.
Yes, from Rocky Moselle and the International Star Registry, and he still hasn't looked up and he hasn't found his star. And I'm frankly upset.
You have to have a telescope to see it. It's not like you got me like Orion's belt, man. Like Dan and Abby's star is one that you need a telescope to see. And I ain't got one of those laying around. If anybody wants to let me borrow their high-powered telescope, like NASA-grade telescope, please feel free to get us up on the Big O Tires text line. I would love to borrow your telescope. But until we make it to an observatory, we're not going to be able to see the star.
The reason we got that as a gag gift, because there's one time Dan's like, man, that's the dumbest gift I've ever heard. Then he gives me a star, I'm going to be upset.
I must have been in a rotten mood that day, complaining about.
And so I was like, Brendan, we have to give it to him.
And we did. When I read the literature, I found it to be a very touching and moving gift, actually. And I love it now.
See, it's a great party gag, though, because you seriously can, like, you can be with a group of people. Oh, you see that star over there? You mean the North Star? Yeah, it's mine.
I own it.
Yeah, any star.
Here's the other question from the Big O Tires text line. Jake, maybe you can help. Any reason whatsoever to sit down and watch Texans Eagles tonight?
Because there's something on.
To quote Frank Reynolds from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, ooh, gambling. That's it. That's a great episode, by the way. The youth basketball episode.
Yes.
Great episode of the show. They try to fix a youth, like inner city youth basketball game. It's great. Well, Frank does.
That's early. Like,
yeah, that's very early.
Yeah, that's early.
That was the first season Frank was part of the show.
It's Always Sunny.
I mean, that
great episode.
The reason why all football is good football.
We know that's cap.
Is like.
Or at least it's football anyway.
You know, all pizza is good pizza.
I will probably have it open in a tab on YouTube TV while I'm at the KU game tonight.
Oh, KU plays tonight.
Yeah.
Jeff Boschee returning.
I'll give you the same spread, Jake. Well, spread, quote unquote. It's a fake spread that you gave us for the. I don't know if you gave us one for K-State Washburn.
Yeah, 30.
It was 30 yesterday.
Yeah.
All right, 30 for tonight for KU Pitt State.
I don't know Pitt State's roster. I knew Washburn's roster very well, which, by the way, Bod's covered my spread.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about Pitt State. I mean, absolutely nothing. Like, if I look at their roster right now, I don't even know, like, if I remember them from last year.
To a degree, we don't really know anything about KU's roster either, right? Like, we know Jalen Wilson.
And
we know DeJuan Harris.
We've seen Kevin McCullough play, but never as a Jayhawk.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Grady Dick could either be, an All-American or a freshman.
Just don't pick him one way or another, no matter what you do.
Yeah. Did you hear that the other day when Michael Swain joined us for Jayhawk Weekly?
Huh.
Well, I asked Michael. It was one of my last questions. Who are going to be KU's top 3 scorers for the season? And he gave me Jalen Wilson, Kevin McCullough, and Grady Dick.
It sounds about right.
And I told him that I like that he picked Grady Dick, but I used a different order of words in that sentence. Yeah.
The light bulb went on.
Michael thought it was hilarious, rightfully so.
Did we pull that audio? We need to.
We've got it.
Yeah.
It's all recorded.
By the way, I can tell you this, judging from the roster, they have 3 returning players. That's it.
Okay, so it's a lot of new faces in this game.
Yeah.
I'm bummed Cam Martin won't get to play because it'd be like, revenge game, essentially. Team he used to play. His former coach. But he's not going to get to play because he's hurt.
I know. Shoulder?
I'm actually not sure what Cam's dealing with right now.
It was in a sling.
Is he going to miss the whole year?
Sounds like a few weeks at least.
Can he get one more red shirt year?
Can he get another red shirt? I don't think he can.
Yeah, he could. He could get a medical.
Get a medical?
Yeah.
There is that guy at Northern Illinois who's on his 8th season of football.
Yeah.
So it's certainly possible. NCAA is a fake organization anyway. It doesn't really matter.
Van Wilder was about a football player during whose career overlapped with COVID.
Like, Cam Martin, come back for another year and just dress and just be on the bench. Like, who's going to stop you? Has anyone tried?
Look like you belong. That is rule number one of life. If you look like you belong, nobody asks you questions.
And act like you belong. One time we were going to a concert at Arrowhead, and one of our friends was in, like the executive level, the yellow seats. That's right. And they were like, yeah, just come with us. And I was like, well, we don't have tickets. And so my wife goes, just act like we belong. And so we followed them and just strutted in there. They didn't do anything. We just walked right on through.
Look and act like you belong. And you can get anywhere you want to go. Warning, may not apply if you're not a white male.
That's how I got to be in the front section for Late Night Under the Lights, Rick Ross, a couple years ago. I don't believe I was credentialed to be there. I just kept walking. I walked right on through. Mm-hmm. Some people looked confused. They got pushed to the back. I just walked right up. I saw the big boss himself. Mic'd up tomorrow from noon to 3. What can we expect?
We are going to talk about the Titans with Jimmy Morris. We will talk Texans with Danny Davis of the Austin American Statesman. We will get to
Texas.
What did I say?
Said Texans.
You said Texans. I thought you were going to recap Thursday Night Football.
No. We're going to talk about the Longhorns.
Okay.
And then we will get to fun fact that the Chiefs offense is at its peak right now.
That is a fun fact.
When the Chiefs game against the 49ers, you can't get any better than that. So you just need to maintain.
We have to get to a commercial break real quick before we let you go. Right now, right this second. Speaking of Texans and Texas, who are you taking as your quarterback, Davis Mills or Quinn Ewers? Right now.
Davis, it's a pro versus a college.
I know.
Davis Mills.
Okay. Are you picking Davis Mills?
Yeah, just he's older.
He's a pro. Quinn Ewers against Oklahoma State, that dude ain't even. Well, that dude stunk.
Some rumors he was dealing with a hand injury in that game.
We might have a different opinion depending on how Davis Mills plays tonight against the Eagles. Jake, appreciate the time. We'll talk to you tomorrow at noon. Coming up, what is wrong with you here on 580 Sports Talk?
Will you be ready, business owners?
What is wrong with you here on 580 Sports Talk with Brendan and Dan? Two new stories going head-to-head today to try to take down. We haven't come up with a name for this guy yet, I don't think. The guy who ransacked the AT&T store but left his own phone there.
Yeah, the phone thief guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that's the best I got for you off the rip.
All right, well, it's going in our notes.
Phone thief guy.
Phone thief guy.
The father-son phone thieves, because there were two of them. It was only the son that was dumb enough, A, to leave his phone at the crime scene, B, come back for it, and C, tell the police that his name was Matt Damon.
I've got a better one because of the Matt Damon thing. This is the born stupidity.
There it is. There it is.
I had to get the Matt Damon part in there because that's the real kicker at the end of it. Two new stories going head-to-head today. Dan, why don't you go first for today's stories?
So it's a bit of an old story, and really what makes it is something that the person who commits the crime allegedly has to say. And not allegedly. These two men pleaded guilty in federal court in St. Louis to conspiracy to distribute and possession with intent to distribute methamphetamine after they tried to buy 100 pounds of the drug from a seller working in league with law enforcement.
How much was that?
100 pounds.
Oh, okay.
A lot. Like a small, like a fifth grader's worth of meth. A statement from the U.
What?
Like the fifth grader would weigh 100 pounds, right?
I don't know. I don't recall what I weighed in fifth grade.
I don't either. I was pretty small. I was on the small side in fifth grade, though. So maybe sixth grader. Let's go sixth grader.
Okay.
A sixth grader's worth of meth. A statement from the U.S. Attorney's Office says that 26-year-old Demond Bernard McDaniels Jr. and 25-year-old DeJuan Lamont Rhodes Jr. are each facing up to 20 years in prison. Their fathers must be very disappointed. The guilty pleas stem from a traffic stop that occurred in Kansas back in 2020. A Geary County Sheriff's deputy, what's up, Junction City, found 2 duffel bags with around 100 pounds of meth inside. The drugs were being transported from Colorado to McDaniels in the St. Louis area. After intercepting the drugs, the DEA arranged for a controlled delivery of the drugs to McDaniels at a University City garage. McDaniels' plea agreement says he dispatched Rhodes to pick up the meth from the garage. Rhodes was arrested carrying $15,005 in cash. I can only imagine what the extra 5 was for. I was like, hey, go pick up the meth, and while you're at it, here, get a biggie bag for yourself.
Go get a foot long.
As well as an assault weapon and a pistol. McDaniels was then told that Rhodes didn't show to the buy. So McDaniels arrived at the garage in University City to complete the transaction, was arrested with $6,930 worth of cash and jewelry. According to court filings, and this is what makes it a what is wrong with you. Upon being arrested, McDaniels stated, "I have a good lawyer." Agents asked McDaniels if he had a job and how he could afford a good lawyer. According to his plea agreement, McDaniels uttered under his breath, quote, "because I sell drugs." Agents asked him to repeat the statement. McDaniels laughed, saying, quote, "Nah, I said I sell dogs."
Dude, come on.
Later, authorities recovered over $93,000 in cash and a firearm from McDaniels' home.
Why would you say that, even as a joke? That's like going to an airport and being like, "Oh, I managed to find a bomb right now."
Right?
Yeah. Excuse me, sir? We're going to need you to
Don't
step in this little room over here.
should do your best not to admit to the crime. I mean, you've just been caught doing the crime, but like, don't admit to the crime, even in a joking way. Nah, man, I said I sell dogs. You heard drugs? That's weird.
We have a 785 texter who says, looked it up. A cool $230,000 would buy you 100 pounds of meth.
So they seem well short
yeah.
of
Also,
100,000.
Be careful where you're searching that, texter. Make sure you're not on shared internet.
Right. How much does 100 pounds of meth cost? I would hate to have to explain that to my boss. You know what I wouldn't say if my boss asked me why I Googled that? I would not say, because I sell drugs.
No, I would not say that to anyone. Oh, my God. Dumber than I thought. My story today is going to take us to Willoughby, Ohio, where a risque Halloween display is creating division in a Willoughby neighborhood. A homeowner located in front of Willoughby Middle School posed several skeletons in their front yard performing sex acts. A neighbor who asked to be identified as Phil didn't even want to put his name on this, said, quote, "It's a serious thing. There's a lot of kids in this neighborhood. It's a very heavy neighborhood for families, so it's something. You've got a school. You've got tons of churches around here. Obviously, it's not something they want in their neighborhood." Mayor Robert Fiala described the display as disappointing and unfortunate. The mayor said he called the homeowner about 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago! This has been happening for multiple weeks. These skeletons have been banging in the front yard.
They've got it blurred out in the video, by the way.
Yeah, this must be vile to have it blurred out by the Channel 8 News.
Blurring out this fake skeleton sex.
I don't know where Fox 8 is based out of. Cleveland. Okay, that's where it's based out of. So the mayor says they asked the homeowner 2 weeks ago to ask that they be repositioned given their proximity to the school. He did not receive a response from the homeowner. The mayor added he respects the citizens' right to freedom of speech and explained he cannot order residents to take down images in their yard. A school district spokesperson said she is not aware of any complaints about the display.
Like, would missionary have been fine? Like,
what if there's only 2 of them instead of 3? Like, what do you...
So when I was a kid, there was a house in the neighborhood that I grew up in, and they had for Christmas, they had like these lit reindeer, like they were made of Christmas lights, so strung around a frame. And so you had a reindeer made out of Christmas lights. And this person had 2 of them in the yard. And one night somebody took one of them and put it behind the other one of them, like on its hind legs with the front legs on the back of the other reindeer. And let me tell you how funny 12-year-old Dan thought that was. Maybe the funniest, like I still remember that, just to give you an idea of how formative that was in my particular sense of humor. So I got to think that the students at a middle school all find that to be absolutely hysterical. Like, they think it's the funniest thing in the world. They will one day, if they host a sports talk show in Greater Cleveland. They will one day tell the story of, yeah, there was this weirdo who lived around the corner from where I went to middle school, and he made his skeletons have sex with each other. We looked at it every day for 2 weeks before Halloween.
Like, is that your target audience? Like, let's get as many neighborhood 12-year-olds in our front lawn as possible.
Like,
real brain genius decision.
We see your bone jokes.
Yeah, I don't think I can repeat the text.
I just want our texters on the Big O Tires text line to know that we see your jokes.
From the 785, from the 913,
we see them, we acknowledge them. They are very good. We're going to err in the side of caution and not read them out loud. But they are very good. At least these aren't the big skeletons. You know those ones that Home Depot sell that are like 12 feet tall? Like, there's yeah, you haven't seen those? They're like big as a house.
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think I've ever said this out loud, but if you know anything about me, you could probably figure this out pretty easily. I'm not exactly handy. Like, I have been to the Home Depot. I don't think the Home Depot here sells hot dogs. I've been to the Home Depot for non-hot dog purposes like a half a dozen times in my life.
Anytime my wife has to go to like Lowe's or Menards, like she ran some errands like a couple of weeks ago. It's like, I'm going to run by Menards. I don't remember even what she was trying to pick up. And I said, hey, if they have hot dogs, will you bring me one? I don't believe they had hot dogs that day. But no, like, they're these giant skeletons. Like,
I did not know that.
They're like 10 to 12 feet tall. I have pitched an idea to Abby that we should get like a family of them. We could pose them, like one crawling over the roof. We have a single level. One crawling over the roof. 2 like just like engaged in fist-to-fist combat in our front yard. 1 trying to climb our tree in the front. 1 trying to climb the fence of the gate. She has to this date turned that idea down.
I would much rather have my skeletons posed with one giving the other a stone cold stunner.
No, that's an awesome idea too.
I would much rather do that. Like, because then the other thing too, you're the skeleton sex house.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we're at the corner of 3rd and Main. I don't know where that is. Oh, it's where the skeletons are having sex. Oh, okay. Like, come on.
I haven't lived in the neighborhood I told the story about for many years, but I guarantee if I drove by, I would say, oh yeah, that's the reindeer sex house.
Who wins today? We've gotten too deep into this discussion. Dan's losing it.
Skeletons win.
If you're watching, see, this is why we have the YouTube stream now, because you can see Dan just burying his head in his hands laughing.
Oh, no.
That wins today. Does that beat the born stupidity?
Oh, God. The 12-year-old in me says yes, but ultimately, I really do believe that the phone theft story is much more in the spirit of what is wrong with you.
See, I don't know, because now you're the skeleton sex house. Like, oh yeah, the red brick house where the skeletons have sex. Like, I think that might win. You will always be that, oh, look at that nice garden. Oh, honey, you know, that's where the skeletons are banging at Halloween time. Oh. I think that's got to be my vote. You have now attached yourself to that forever. That the skeletons have adult relations in your front yard.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, those middle school students are going to have a story to tell. They're going to wind up in college some years down the road. Hey, man, where I grew up, there's this one dude who lived on the corner right around from our middle school, and he used to pose the skeletons getting to know each other in a biblical sense.
What's your vote then? Are you going with the phone story?
I hate losing the phone story, but the skeleton one did make me laugh harder. So I think we're going to have to go with the skeleton sex house. Can't even say it out loud.
Wow, what a name. All right. That's in the notes. Skeleton sex house is in the notes. That's our new winner in What Is Wrong With You. We've got to pay the bills. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. What the Louisville IARP ruling means for Kansas basketball. That's next here on 580 Sports Talk.
Right now.
316 here on 580 Sports Talk. This show's already off the rails, so I don't have a problem bringing this question up before we get to the IARP. The question itself will sound weird. Do you have a good nose? Like, do you have a strong sense of smell?
Not really.
Okay, because I walked outside. I was just filling up my water bottle during the break and grabbing a snack. I got some beef jerky, and I was hungry. And I thought, what is that smell? And I could not put my finger on it. Eventually, I just determined it was coffee. It was just old coffee sitting in the coffee maker here in the office. And I think most people will be like, oh, yeah, coffee, I can smell that instantly. You know, I smell it every morning or whatever. My wife has a very strong sense of smell, like way stronger than mine. But I was wondering, like, that is probably my weakest sense is smell. And it's probably not even close, honestly.
Yeah, probably mine too. So I have I don't know if this has anything to do with that or not, but I have what is known as a deviated septum. Some of our listeners might have the same deal.
Yeah.
Fairly common,
Oh, yeah.
actually. And I don't know if that has affected my sense of smell or not, but I have never felt like I had a particularly powerful nose.
Interesting. It might be connected. I don't know. I don't think mine's deviated. I probably would know by this point in my life if it was. Someone would have said something. Yeah, it's like a C plus sense of smell.
Yeah, I wouldn't give myself a higher grade than that.
You know, I take that back because C is supposed to be average. We inflate grades so much here in this country. That's a different discussion. C is supposed to be average. No, I probably have like a D plus sense of smell. It's not very good. I can smell this beef jerky though. It's black pepper beef jerky. I like pepper jerky a lot.
Somebody says from the 785 on the Big O Tires text line, theirs improved when they stopped smoking, which is interesting.
Huh. That is interesting. I've never smoked in my life.
Not me either.
We have another one from the 316. Brendan, I'd say your taste can't be that good. Your sense of taste can't be that good for your love of McRib.
That's a bar.
This is not very nice. I am going through it because McRib is going away forever. Once it's gone, it's gone. Pat Strothman, former host of 580 Sports Talk, now down in Wichita, he tweeted today that he forgot to tell people he had McRib and he's glad it's going away. It wasn't very nice.
I've never had McRib.
You should have one before you never have a chance to.
I don't think I'm going to miss it.
Even Jake said he'll do it.
If Jake does it, I'll do it with him.
All right. We'll have to make this happen.
The 580 Sports Talk Eat a Whole McRib Challenge.
I'll put down 3. God, I love it. It's so good. Did want to get to this. Louisville got its IARP ruling today from the independent review council, all that. They're not getting a postseason ban. They're not getting a suspension for Rick Pitino or Chris Mack or anyone else. The school is going to pay a whopping, game-changing, university-altering $5,000 fine, and they get 2 years of probation. That is it. I mean, that's nothing. And I understand that it's been a long time. The IARP does not want to punish current student athletes, which is good. That's how it should be. You should not punish the current student athletes. But man, why even give them anything at that point? Like, why put down a $5,000 fine? Come on.
Here's the part that's relevant to some of the accusations against Kansas. The panel determined that both Rick Pitino and Adidas were not at fault. Here's what the statement said. As a result, the hearing panel did not find any additional violations for Louisville related to actions by the apparel company or its employees in this case. Additionally, the hearing panel determined no violation by Pitino occurred, given that he demonstrated he promoted an atmosphere of compliance, which is really funny if you know anything about Rick Pitino.
Yeah, right? Wait.
David Bank, who is the chief panel member for the IRP, said the panel did not view Adidas as anything more than a company marketing itself. It was our interpretation that it was merely their own brand promotion, Banks said Thursday. On top of that, the institution never requested any assistance with recruiting. So basically, they looked at the Adidas stuff, the FBI stuff, the we have your playbook. The FBI is throwing people in prison over this stuff and said, actually, not that big a deal. So maybe, like, this was my question after reading that. Are you more or less convinced that there is more punishment on the way for Kansas on top of what they announced yesterday? And a bigger question might be, if you're Kansas, do you maybe wish you had a time machine and could go back 24 hours and say, if that's all that happened to Louisville, maybe we should hold our water a little longer?
I feel like the IARP probably won't downgrade the level 1 violations against KU to the same degree that they downgraded them against Louisville. Because in the end, they said that only one of these is a level 1 violation. Everything else is secondary or tertiary. I'm maybe a little bit less. I expect more punishment, a little bit less. I'm not fully to the point of, oh yeah, this is going to be enough for KU.
Maybe a fine, maybe a $5,000 fine.
Yeah, and there might be some kind of probation that comes down to
some recruiting show cause for Townsend.
Yeah, I still think he's going to be the one who falls on the sword if anyone does. Look, the biggest punishment for Louisville in all of this is the fact that they had to go 5 years in just under a black cloud, and their recruiting has taken a hit. Their team's success has taken a measurable, large hit.
Yeah. Louisville today is not the Louisville program it was back when the IARP or the FBI started investigating.
And I think you can make an argument, look, that's almost like a time-served punishment for them. You can't make that argument for Kansas.
No,
Kansas just won a national championship.
Yeah.
You can't even make that argument. The NCAA has just no teeth at this point. This punishment means nothing. And I'm glad that the players aren't going to get punished. They shouldn't.
Yeah,
Kids today had nothing to do with that.
Yeah, I am all for current players not having to pay for the sins of, Silvio De Sousa's father, essentially.
And not even his handler.
Or handler. Yeah, handler.
We have a texter from the 913 who says, this is a strong finger wagging. Yeah, this isn't even a slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
This is like, hey, stop.
Yeah, if you wanted to characterize what KU did yesterday as a slap on the wrist, which I have seen that terminology thrown around mostly by people who do not root for the University of Kansas basketball team. If you want to say that was a slap on the wrist, then what the hell is this?
I would imagine KU, if they're going to get more, I would imagine it's some sort of probation, maybe a recruiting show cause for Curtis Townsend. Fine.
They threw the book at him. Only thing is, the book was a paperback copy of Catcher in the Rye.
Like this is not. If that ends up being all KU has to deal with, man, I mean, that's a huge win for KU. Because again, all the talk about recruiting has taken a hit in a way you could probably spin that as almost helping Bill Self.
Yes, because they haven't had all the one and done guys.
Because you can't be, anybody can recruit, but Bill Self chokes in March and, can't coach unless you have elite talent. But no, Oregon State was recruiting Ochai Agbaji along with KU, man. Like, that was his next biggest offer at the time. I think maybe Oklahoma State jumped in late. Like, people weren't recruiting David McCormick like that. He was a 4-star recruit, but not like Grady Dick was a 4-star recruit, right? If this is all that ends up happening to KU, that's a huge win for Kansas. It really is. And then you just move on and you say, screw this, move on. We are all past this at this point.
Good point from the 785. We all know KU is the victims of the mob family that is Adidas. Anything more than a simple slap on the wrist.
Slap on the wrist.
In English, a simple slap on the wrist is victim shaming, and we can't allow it.
785 texter, I'm glad you said that. I remember when they determined KU was a victim.
Yes.
And I said it yesterday. I've been riding that high since 2018. Why would I stop now?
Hey, that was an extremely believable line to take if you knew literally nothing else about how college basketball worked.
If you were born yesterday, that was the smartest thing you've ever heard.
If you fell off the largest turnip truck in the Midwest.
Hey, we've got one more hour to go on 580 Sports Talk. We've got our headlines. We'll talk to Mitch Holthus. We'll get our Thursday night football same-game parlays for you. But before we get to the top of the hour, real quick, speaking of Kansas State fans, in my hand right here, a family 4-pack of tickets to K-State versus Texas this weekend. Caller number 4 for 4 tickets. They are yours. Come pick them up at the station. Caller number 4, 785-272-9429. A family 4-pack of K-State football tickets are yours for this weekend. We'll tell you who the winner is coming up next hour on 580 Sports Talk.
Enjoy the ultimate golf.
now, 1 hour to go on 580 Sports Talk on this Thursday, November 3rd. Brendan Dworzinski and Dan Lucero here with you. Appreciate you spending some of your afternoon hours with us. If you've missed any of the show up until this point, including a wild What Is Wrong With You Today and a good time on Crosstalk with Jake as well from this past hour, you can head to our website, 580wibw.com. Click on the podcast tab. Really just hover over the podcast tab, and then you can click on 580 Sports Talk. You can also click on podcasts, and then you just have to go through a different menu, and you can still find the podcast version of the show. Again, note the new URL, 580wibw.com. And of course, as always, we welcome you to be a part of the show on the Big O Tires text line. 785-272-9429 is the text line number. And you can watch us now live streaming every show on YouTube. Sports on 580 is the YouTube channel. And I want to make sure that I can get this link right. Yes, it is youtube.com/@Sports on 580 WIBW. That's how you can find us. Subscribe, bookmark it, just make it your homepage. People still use homepages. Remember that was a thing? Like, oh, this is my homepage.
Yeah, like when I open my browser, it goes right to ESPN.
Yeah. At one point in time, I think I had set mine to like go to the MySpace homepage.
Oh my.
Circa 2007.
You know, I never had a MySpace.
Really?
I never did.
Interesting.
I never did. I was a bit of a Luddite in that way, I suppose, because a lot of my friends did, and I just didn't.
How old were you when you got a Facebook?
Oh, I was a freshman in college when Facebook really started popping off.
Okay.
So that's how old I was.
Was it one of those things where you still had to get an invite from someone?
Yes,
Yeah.
I still remember exactly who invited me.
Really?
Yeah.
Who was it?
She was.
She. There we go.
Yeah, that was why.
Okay.
That was why. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Katie Dugan. She was on the swim team. Really good swimmer. I think she was all conference one year.
Well, shout out to Katie Dugan.
Yeah.
I got mine not all that long after anyone could sign up. I was in high school. Or no, I was in junior high still. I was an 8th grader.
Okay.
Yeah, which I probably wasn't supposed to do, but
so yeah,
did.
So right around when Facebook stopped being cool was because it was cool when it was exclusive. When anyone can do it, it's not as cool.
From the 785, this is a throwback. Dan, how did anybody know who your 8 favorite people were? Also, Zanga better than MySpace for sure. I never had a Zanga.
I never had a Zanga.
My sister did. She's been hours on Zanga. It's like a lot of GIFs. I didn't really understand the point of it.
If you wanted to know who my 8 favorite people were, you just had to look at my AIM list of contacts.
Yeah.
That was
big on Instant Messenger.
I mean, that was how you communicated. Like when I was in college, that was still heavy in the streets. The AOL Instant Messenger.
Yeah,
that and Yahoo Messenger.
Never used Yahoo Messenger.
I had a couple of friends on MSN Messenger. Man, he had them all 3 open at once.
Wow, that's like overload. 3 different messaging services. Although, to be fair, my sister, she with her roommate in college, the person she lived with and like hung out with every day, her best friend, they had a text conversation, a Facebook Messenger conversation, like AOL Instant Messenger. Like they had every single messenger service, all of them, and they would just like sit next to each other and use them. I know she's not listening, so I can call her out for this.
Yeah, shout out to the texter from the 785 says, if you're old enough to remember ASL. Oh yeah, buddy.
Oh yeah. Age, sex, location.
Yeah.
18M USA.
Get me out of this conversation.
Coming up here this hour on 580 Sports Talk, we've got our weekly chat with Mitch Holthus coming up in just about 25 minutes. We'll also get to our weekly Thursday night football preview and parlays. It is Philadelphia versus Houston tonight, not just in the World Series, but also in the NFL. They're playing in Houston for football. They're playing in Philly for baseball. I did see this yesterday. It would have been NRG Stadium in Houston is going to have more than half of the TVs in the stadium tuned to the World Series.
Gonna be a lot of people standing on the concourse.
Yeah.
Around like 8 minutes left in the second quarter when the Eagles are already 21 skunking the Texans.
The Texans today had to put out a tweet that said, "Good morning, please wear red today." Like
and Harris County en masse said no.
Yeah, why? Why would we do that? So we'll get to that coming up here in a little bit, but we've also got right now our 580 Sports Talk headlines brought to you by Blue Dot of Kansas. Go check them out online at bluedotkansas.com. Make sure your house is in tip-top shape for when it continues to get colder. When it gets warmer, it's warm again during the afternoon the last couple of days. Whatever the weather is like outside, make sure your house is in great shape thanks to our friends at Blue Dot. Check them out online at bluedotkansas.com. By the way, did you know that daylight savings time ends on Sunday?
Yes, it did.
I did not know that until last night. I hate standard time. I hate it. I hate it. Because I like to sleep in and I like to stay up late. And now it gets dark at like 4 p.m. after daylight savings ends.
Yeah.
So I don't reap any of the benefits.
Yeah, the getting dark early is for the birds, man.
Sucks. Absolutely sucks. We, in our studio, have just a little the blinds are always closed because they're soundproofing on them.
Yeah.
So they're just never open. But there's a little crack where one of the pieces of the shutter is just kind of open. It just kind of fell. So we see a little bit of daylight in here. And then when it's dark, but the start of the 4 o'clock hour, I think, wow, this is miserable. This is terrible.
Nothing worse than the months of the year where we leave here and it's pitch dark.
Would you rather have permanent daylight savings time or permanent standard time?
I think I'd rather have permanent daylight savings.
I agree. We have a texture from the 75 that says we need to get rid of daylight savings time. I would rather we switch to it in the springtime and then never fall back. That's what I would prefer.
Yeah,
I want later daylight.
Yeah, I'm with that. 100%.
Also, I know I'm getting so sidetracked from our headlines here. First headline, we have a 785 texture who asks, who won the K-State tickets? Our friend Nate won the K-State tickets.
Nate from Seneca.
Yeah.
Shout out to our friends in Northeast Kansas.
Yes, thank you to you guys.
Northeast Kansas.
So, texter, I'm sorry, we do not still have them to give away. I just forgot to mention that Nate was our winner for today's tickets. So congrats to Nate. He and a group of 3 others will get to go to the K-State game versus Texas coming up this weekend. All right, time to get to some headlines. First one of the day, Chiefs injury report. Clean sheet for the Chiefs today, save for just one player. That is Jody Fortson. He was a DNP, listed as a quad and an illness. Everybody else, full participant. Only other guy who was limited yesterday, he was Willie Gay. He was a full go. Prince Tega Wanogo was added to the injury list. However, he was still a full participant. No designation yesterday, listed as full today with a rib injury, not a McRib, I should note. For the Titans, kind of bleak this week. Can't lie about that. Your DNPs, fullback Torrey Carter, safety Amani Hooker, defensive tackle Naquan Jones due to illness, Jeffrey Simmons, that's a big one, due to an ankle injury. Derrick Henry, he got a rest day today, limited yesterday. DNP today. He doesn't need to practice. That does not matter. Quarterback Ryan Tannehill, limited yesterday. DNP today. Meanwhile, defensive end Tier Tart, he was limited today with a hamstring. He was not on the injury report yesterday. Nate Davis, offensive guard, not injury related, limited him at practice today. And for the second day in a row, defensive tackle Kevin Strong, also limited. The only good thing on the injury report for Tennessee, I'm going to get his name wrong. Okwalanonu? I'm sorry, Sam. I apologize. Sam O, their defensive tackle. He was upgraded from limited to full participant today. So that is your Chiefs and Titans injury report for Sunday Night Football this week.
Yeah, how many people knew it was Sunday Night Football? I got to admit, I didn't know that till today.
Me either.
That it had been moved to Sunday night. I had no idea. But like, what else were you going to put a Sunday night this week?
That is a great question. There's really not anything worth putting. Not a great week in terms of how the schedule looks.
Like, we're all going to get to watch Buccaneers Rams on Fox. That's their America's game of the week. So everybody in America will get to see that game. But like, it's not that enticing a game right now. Neither of those teams is playing very well.
What do you think the odds are that Sunday Night Football week 15 gets flexed?
Is that Denver, Kansas City?
No, that's week 14.
Ah.
That at least has Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Week 15 is Patriots at Raiders.
Yuck.
Hell, week 16 is Buccaneers Cardinals.
Also yuck.
Week 17, they're probably going to be fighting for a spot. Rams Chargers.
Yeah, that's week. Oh yeah, weeks. I forget.
Because now we have 18 weeks.
Yeah,
So,
I was like, what, that's a last week of the season game? No, it's not, Dan.
If there is a game that has seeding or a playoff berth independent of any other game, they'll put it Sunday night, week 18. Otherwise, they just won't have a week 18 game. Which I kind of like. I mean, why have everybody tune in for a game involving a team that's not going anywhere?
Right.
Which probably smart.
First headline for me, the Blue Dot of Kansas headlines. It has taken us until hour number 3 to get to this. I have to wonder if shows with a more national skew to them, when they got to this, if they got to this today. We had a freaking no-hitter pitched in a World Series game last night. Now, not a one-person no-hitter, not the no-hitter in the traditional sense. Don Larson remains, as of this morning, the only person to have pitched a complete game no-hitter in the World Series. His, of course, was a perfecto in 1956.
On acid.
Not him.
Who am I thinking of?
Doc Ellis.
Oh, Doc Ellis. Yeah. I'm not going to lie. I've kind of put those two together like my entire life. I just assumed Don Larson's was the one on acid.
No!
That was Doc Ellis. Yeah. I guess I knew those were two different names, but I always just kind of blended them together. Honestly, Don Larson's perfect game means a lot less to me now. I'm much less impressed. Oh, wow. You were stone cold sober. Wow, congrats.
Oh, no.
Good for you. Congrats on doing your job. You got everyone out. You do that on acid. Okay. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I have what's the word? Conflated. I have conflated those two for pretty much my entire life.
Brendan, you've outdone yourself from Tuesday. That's the funniest thing you've ever said on this radio program.
Just a slight mix-up.
Anyway, it was Christian Javier, Brian Abreu, Rafael Montero, and Ryan Presley last night, none of whom were tripping balls on LSD, who combined to pitch a no-hitter in Game 4 of the World Series last night in Philadelphia. One night after the Phillies had bashed 5 home runs en route to taking a 2-1 series lead, the Astros leveled the series with a 5-0 win. All 5 runs coming in the same inning as the Astros got hot and chased starting pitcher Aaron Nola from the game in scoring those 5 runs. Javier took it from there with 6 no-hit innings, and Abreu, Montero, and Presley each pitched a scoreless frame in that order behind him. It is the second combined no-hitter this year that Javier was the starter for. It's also the second time this year that the Phillies have lost a combined no-hitter in which Aaron Nola was the starting pitcher. So
bizarre.
Yeah, very, very bizarre indeed. But the series is even at 2, a pivotal Game 5. It's always pivotal, isn't it, when the series is tied at 2? You have to describe it as the pivotal Game 5. Is tonight at Citizens Bank Park. Place will be rocking. The Phillies will be wearing their 80s powder blue throwbacks tonight. Noah Syndergaard will be on the mound for Philadelphia. Locals will remember what happened the last time he started a World Series game. His team won. He didn't get the win, but he opened it with a bang. He threw 20 feet over Alcides Escobar's head, and there's still some Royals fans who don't like him to this day because of that. Anyhow, it is Syndergaard for the Phils. It is Justin Verlander for the Astros, still seeking his first win in a World Series game as the starting pitcher.
That's crazy.
It is.
Wow.
It's back to a best of 3. Houston has home field back. Feels like they seized the momentum of the series back last night. I think if Philly had won Game 4, I don't know if it was going to go back to Houston.
How much are you sweating your Astros World Series ticket?
I'm not really sweating it right now.
Not at all.
I still think I think the Astros seized the momentum. I was sweating it a little going into last night, but I am no longer sweating it. I think Houston will win 2 of the last 3, especially with 6 and 7 back at home.
Yeah,
and I kind of expect them to jump Syndergaard tonight and win. Syndergaard doesn't strike anybody out. Houston doesn't strike out. I think they might play pepper with those short fences in left and right field against Syndergaard. They're going to have to be quick on the hook tonight. Rob Thompson, the former Jayhawk, who manages the Phillies, he might have to be quick with the hook. He might wear out a path between the mound and the dugout tonight, trying to keep his team in it. Because I don't know how many outs Syndergaard is going to get him, but I don't think it's going to be many.
Well, and you've got time. I mean, before the next game. I mean, you've got time to rest guys, so you might as well burn through it.
Tomorrow is the off day. I know there was some disappointment last night among K-State fans because the series is now assured of going 6, and because of the rain delay before Game 3, Game 6 will be played on Saturday night, which means that's what will be on Fox and not K-State, Texas. So you want to watch that one, it's going to be on FS1.
Next headline for me on our Blue Dot of Kansas headlines, brought to you, of course, by our friends at Blue Dot of Kansas, and you can visit them online at blue.kansas.com. The other day, we had the story of Josh Primo, the former first-round pick of the San Antonio Spurs, who was waived by the team this weekend, shockingly, and it has since come out that he had exposed himself to multiple women, and that led to the Spurs waiving him. He was not claimed on waivers, by the way. He's now a free agent. At the time, when we brought this up earlier in the week, I said, I do not want to go as far as to say the Spurs did the right thing because they did the obvious thing. You cut a guy who is, in a way, a predator, no matter what his personal demons are. Well, I'm glad I stopped short of saying that the other day. New reporting and a new lawsuit against Josh Primo and the San Antonio Spurs has painted them in a very bad light. This is the writing of Tim McMahon from ESPN, but a former clinical psychologist for the Spurs filed a lawsuit Thursday morning alleging the organization, quote, ignored her repeated reports of indecent exposure, unquote, by Joshua Primo. According to the lawsuit, Primo exposed himself to Dr. Hillary Coffin a total of 9 times. The first incident occurred during a psychological session with Primo, Dan, in December of 2021. This was 11 months ago. It was reported to Spurs management a month later in January 2020. According to the lawsuit filed in Bexar County, Texas, it alleges, quote, rather than act on Dr. Coffin's reports, the Spurs ignored her complaints, hoping the organization could ignore and then cover up Primo's actions. The Spurs organization was willing to sacrifice Dr. Coffin to keep what they hoped would one day be a star player. Once his conduct entered the public sphere, the Spurs were forced to act and release Primo. The Spurs' actions with regard to Primo are too little, too late. The Spurs' public statement about Primo's departure is a complete farce, and the Spurs' conduct sends a strong message that they, like other major sports organizations, are willing to tolerate abhorrent conduct on the part of athletes and sacrifice loyal employees so long as the athlete is successful on the court. Dr. Coffin here, the plaintiff in this case, the accuser, has said that she lost her dream job working with an NBA team, working with the Spurs because of this incident. Her contract was not renewed when it came up following all of these allegations. So she was not fired. She also was not given the chance to keep her job in the wake of all of this. 9 times. Okay. This is awful in and of, like, in a vacuum, this is awful, obviously. How do you not have a grasp on what is going on in the rest of the sports world and say, Deshaun Watson in Houston, not that far away, both in Texas. How do you not see what has been going on with him? The Deshaun Watson case not just pop up out of nowhere this summer, right? That has been going on for years at this point.
Yeah.
How do you not say, let's not endure the same fate as the Texans, Browns, everybody involved there. Let's just cut bait. I don't care how good you think the dude is going to be. He averaged 6 points a game last year, guys. Not worth it. Not worth it.
I have the answer for that question of how, and it's a depressing answer, but it is the right one because we just don't care about women like that. We don't care about women. We don't listen to women like that, just generally.
It is just unbelievable, man.
And we should. We absolutely should. We should be doing better by the women in our lives, the women in our employ, the women who we work with, but we don't. And that's a choice. It was a choice the Texans made, and now it appears to have been a choice that the Spurs made.
And you know what the crazy thing is, too? And I don't mean to diminish people, women, anyone who works in, because we have seen in cases of sexual misconduct for professional sports teams, it isn't always just women either, because your point is 100% right, 100%. Like the Blackhawks, that was not women, that was men, that was just team personnel who ruined a kid's life, truly ruined Kyle Beach's life. This woman, Dr. Coffin, her career completely different now. It's just unthinkable to me that you can allow this to happen. More
concerned with your own reputation than the well-being of the people that you employ, the people that you work with. It's
unbelievable. We have a texter who says that this guy and the Spurs scum for what each of them did. Another texter from the 785 says, when are these athletes going to be held accountable just as a normal person would be? It's a great question.
It is a great question.
And in the grand scheme of things, and I will clean up my own language here, no one gives a flying you-know-what as about Josh Primo. Nobody cares. Josh Primo is a fly on the windshield of the professional sports world. Come on. The other thing, too, like, these are doctors. Like, these are massage therapists. They're taking care of these people. This is a sports psychologist trying to get this guy's mind right. It's unthinkable, man. I just... Again, we said it the other day. Whatever trauma you've been through, that is very unfortunate. I hope this person gets the help that they need. I've been through some stuff, too, in my life, man. I've never thought, you know what's going to make this better? I'm going to drop trow in front of this person.
Yeah. I don't get it either. One last Blue Dot of Kansas headline. Couple of notable wide receivers out for the year. No real good place to segue from the story we just talked about. But notable, I think, to mention that the Baltimore Ravens' Rashad Bateman will have season-ending surgery on his foot, and Saints receiver Michael Thomas needs toe surgery, and he has been placed on injured reserve, which will end his season as well. So a couple of notable absences for notable NFL wide receivers.
That probably hurts Baltimore more than it does New Orleans.
Oh, it's a huge loss for Baltimore.
Huge loss for them. That'll do it for our 580 Sports Talk headlines, brought to you by Blue Dot of Kansas. Go visit them online at bluedotkansas.com. We'll take a break. We'll get to our Thursday night football parlays coming up after this on 580 Sports Talk. Thursday night football coming up in just under 2 hours. Eagles versus Texans. I don't think we need to spend a whole lot of time picking a winner here.
No, the Eagles are favored by, I believe, 14.5.
Rightfully so.
Yeah.
So instead of wasting time on that, let's get to our same game parlays for tonight. I've got a three-legger. I'm feeling good after last week, hoping for the best again this week. I've got the Eagles in the first half. This is the one I'm worried about because they're undefeated against first half spreads this year. I don't want this to be the week that they screw that up. So Eagles minus 7.5 in the first half. Jalen Hurts over 225 passing yards. Took an alternate total there. A.J. Brown, anytime touchdown. He's been hot. That would be a plus 510 parlay. $10 wins you 51. $100 wins you 510.
So I am going with the total under tonight. The total is 45.5, and I'm going under 45.5 because Houston, I don't think, is going to be able to do much of anything offensively.
Mm-hmm.
Their two best receivers are out. Nico Collins is out with an injury, and Brandon Cooks is not going to play because he is distraught about not being traded.
Yeah.
So they are going to hold him out. Yeah, they're going to hold him out of tonight's game. So it's the Davis Mills offense without his two best wide receivers. I don't think they're going to do a lot of scoring. And Philadelphia's good against the run, so I think they'll keep Dameon Pierce in check as well. Under 45.5. I've got the Eagles first half points over. Their total is 14.5 in the first half. They average 21 points per first half this
I like
year.
that one.
So I'm going with the over 14.5 first half points for the Eagles. Davis Mills, 210.5 passing yards is his over-under. Again, without his two best targets, who the hell's going to catch passes for Davis Mills? I know they might get behind big and have to throw it a lot, but still, I don't think he's getting to 210.5. So I'm going under on Davis Mills passing yards. That's plus 713, those three. So $100 bet would win you $713. A $10 bet would win you $71.30. And it doesn't matter if you're new to FanDuel or already have an account. You get free bets back if your Thursday night same-game parlay doesn't hit with a no-sweat same-game parlay. NFL same-game parlays are the perfect way to combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payday. You can build your own or choose from one of the popular SGPs pre-built for you in FanDuel's top-rated sportsbook app. However you want to play, you can bet the NFL Thursday night with a no-sweat same-game parlay. Just sign up with my promo code Lucero if you don't already have an account. If you have FanDuel, you're all set. Sign in to see what you've got. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Kansas. 3 or more legs, minimum $1 bet required. Refund issued is non-withdrawable free bets. Expire 7 days after receipt. Max free bet, $5. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com.
We'll take a timeout. I'm on my way to Lawrence for KU versus Pitt State. Dan's got you the rest of the way, and he'll be joined by the voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, after this on 580 Sports Talk.
5:37 on 580 Sports Talk on this Thursday. Dan Lucero with you. I've got you the rest of the way. Brendan Dworzinski heading out to Allen Fieldhouse. KU opens their basketball season with an exhibition tonight against Pitt State. He'll be there for that with the tip-off of 7 o'clock. But without any further ado, here on 580 Sports Talk, pleased to be joined, as we always are on Thursday at this time, by the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, who joins us thanks to our friends at Azure Credit Union and Hy-Vee. Mitch, how was the bye week?
Well, it was good. A lot of things planned for me. Got the weekend, but did a big event in Kansas City at noon on Thursday, and then in the evening had another big fundraiser, and then Friday drove to Hayes, where it was a very impactful evening to honor firefighters who fought the wildfires in December in western Kansas near Hayes that led it was just awful. Lost a life, lost a lot of acreage, and didn't get a lot of notoriety or publicity, but a lot of volunteer firefighters were brave. And then spent Saturday at K-State, man, awesome for that 48-0 win over Oklahoma State, and then day of rest and worship and watching football on Sunday. And there you go. That was it. That was the bye week.
Yeah, you mentioned that K-State game. How many bigs would that have gotten before a K-State victory had you been behind the mic for that one?
Well, 12 was the maximum. That was the max. But when you think about this, where the largest margin of victory ever in college football history against a top 10 team by a lower ranked team, that might have popped to 13 or 14. It was something else to behold, but it was just a day of emotion and memories for me. I mean, did the games there for 12 years and graduated from there, but it was homecoming, and I was K-State ambassador back as an undergrad, and that little kid sits down with the Junior Wildcat T-shirt on, and I thought, yeah, started the Junior Wildcat Club back in the day, and chance to connect. The other thing is their pregame ritual is outstanding from 25 minutes up until kick. I mean, they of course play the songs like Wabash and Wildcat Victory in the alma mater, but they also play a march that was written by John Philip Sousa specifically for K-State, I believe in 1912. And it was the late 80s, early 90s, about the time Bill Snyder was trying to crank it up. And I went to Frank Trace, the band director. I said, I think Sousa wrote a march for K-State. And so we found it, and now that's become part of the game day experience. So my life was kind of flashing in front of my eyes, but a very enjoyable day. I felt like I was 10 years old again.
That's awesome. Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, joining us here on 580 Sports Talk. Thanks again to Azure Credit Union and Hy-Vee. Well, Mitch, back to business for the Kansas City Chiefs. Sunday night football this week against the Tennessee Titans, and the Chiefs coming off of a bye will always bring up that stat with Andy Reid and his 20-3 lifetime record as a head coach coming out of the bye week. Having been around Andy, having talked to Andy, what do you think it is that has led to that level of success for Reid with the extra week to prepare over the course of his coaching career?
Well, let me take it further. He's 12-1 at home after byes and 4-0 with Mahomes. I think it's a two-way conduit with him. He's so good at self-scouting, and then the infrastructure that he has with coaching staff down throughout his 24-year career as a head coach. For example, Mike Frazier, and Coach gave Frazier some credit the other day in the news conference, but he's got eyeballs on the team all the time of looking for trends, like looking at the Chiefs team as if you were an opponent. And that's one way of the conduit of the bye week. The other is to completely look at your opponent coming up with extra time. That opponent has now given you enough of there's enough sample size there, like in this case with 7 games of the Titans, to understand pretty much what they do. There will be a few surprises. I just talked about it today a little bit, but not a lot. I mean, so he will dissect the opponent, but he will also dissect his own team and do it with effectiveness and with an open mind. And that's why I think he's excellent after bye weeks. And then really, for the most part, here in Kansas City, with the exception of his first year, where he started 9-0, his second halves of the season, starting with the bye week, are usually really pretty good.
The Tennessee Titans are a team that has played the Chiefs as tough as anybody, and that includes a 27-3 win over the Chiefs last season. You could tell that one kind of still sticks in the craw of one Patrick Mahomes. He threw a little PG-13 language in his conversation with the media earlier this week. How much do you think that weighs on this team, knowing that they have an opportunity to maybe get one back after that really difficult loss last season?
Well, I think he used a slang term referencing maybe part of the backside of our anatomy.
That's right.
Or referencing a burrow, another name. But let me take that one step further before I give you an answer. Man, this is always fun to do with you guys. Think about how brilliant Andy Reid's career has been. And number 5 all-time in wins in NFL history and climbing. Postseason, if he gets one postseason win, he'll tie Landry for second all-time. Only of the 32 teams, he only has losing records against 3. What do you think his record? He's in the regular season now against the Tennessee Titans in 9 games. What do you think Andy Reid's record is?
You say, is it 4-5?
How about 1-8?
And
that was the first year. The aforementioned 9-0 start for the Chiefs, winning in Nashville. Fumble punt in the end zone caused by Anthony Sherman. I can see it as plain as day. But yeah, the Tennessee Titans have been kryptonite for Coach Reid and for the Chiefs. If you think about it, they've all kind of had their own like little ignominious impacts on the Chiefs. 2014, 2 guys get Achilles injuries within a couple of game minutes. Derek Johnson in 2014 and then Mike DeVito that same year. They were out for the year, obviously. That was a problem. 2016, the Chiefs get upset 19-17 by a just kind of okay Titan team. 2019 was the 35-32 loss in Nashville. That was the last loss for the Chiefs that season, going on to win Super Bowl 54. And then last year, you alluded to it, the 27-3 loss that Patrick Mahomes remembers very well. So the Titans, it's their style of play. I think they're very physical. They just kind of slug you out and try to throw you off the track. And Tennessee, for whatever reason, in the regular season has been able to do that. Of course, the Chiefs have the biggest win, winning the AFC Championship from the Titans in the 2019 season.
What is the tougher matchup in your mind going into this game on Sunday night? Is it the Chiefs defense dealing with Derrick Henry, who they've actually historically had pretty good success against, including limiting him to less than 3 yards per carry in that aforementioned 27-3 game last season? Or is it the Chiefs offense against the Titans defense that's played at a high level in their 5-game winning streak?
I'm gonna give you the terrible answer here. It's both. In the case of King Henry, in the AFC Championship game, Derrick Henry's longest run was 19 yards. I can still remember the hit Dan Sorensen put on him early in the third quarter, and Derrick, as big as he is at 240 pounds and so powerful, the Jim Brown of our time, Dirty Dan's hit on him changed his day. He was pretty much done after that. Now, the 2019 regular season game, he runs a 68-yard touchdown. I can still see that as plain as day, and goes for $188. Last year in the 27-3 game, he was okay, but he was more of a decoy. It was play-action passing with Ryan Tannehill in that game that just ate the Chiefs alive. And this goes back to I can't say it's Derrick Henry over the defense over Derrick Henry, because I think Tennessee's defense is one of the most underrated parts of any team in this entire National Football League. People talk about King Henry, but if you want an entire defense that plays like King Henry's edge and girth and power, it's that Tennessee defense. If you look at what they've done this year, it's pretty impressive. Number 1 in the NFL in third down defense, by far. Teams are only converting 25.6% of third down opportunities against Tennessee's defense. The next closest defense is 30%. I mean, that's crazy. The Chiefs are the best on third down offense, but you got one of these, train collisions here with the best third down defense against the best third down offense. But Tennessee's defense, you look at Jeffrey Simmons, I know he's on the injured list, outstanding. Bud Dupree's outstanding as a edge rusher, pass rusher. Kevin Byard's great at safety. I mean, they're great against the run. Number 2 in the league against the run. So this is a very stout Tennessee Titan defense. But I would say both of that. You gave me an either or, and I can't go either or. I would say they're both equally stout in trying to beat this team.
Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, visiting with us here on 580 Sports Talk, brought to you by Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. Offensively for the Titans, their big question going into Sunday might just be who's going to be under center. Ryan Tannehill did not play last week, was limited in practice yesterday with his ankle injury, and then did not practice today. So there is a very real chance that we see the second career start for rookie Malik Willis on Sunday. How do you think the Chiefs' plan might change if it is Willis as opposed to if it is Tannehill?
Well, Tannehill's just more polished, obviously, with more experience on those play-action passes. Now, you can't sleep on Malik Willis's arm. We saw it at Liberty and put up some eye-popping numbers, and most think he had the strongest arm in the 2022 Combine. So you can't sit there and sleep on the play-action, but he just hasn't had very many repetitions to do it. And last week he threw a nasty interception in the Houston game, and they basically said, you ain't throwing the rest of the game. Dan, he only threw one pass, not one completion. He threw one pass, and it was incomplete in the second half against the Texans last week in their 17-10 victory. They rode King Henry hard, 32 rushes for over 200 yards rushing. But if Tannehill's in there, he'll be using the whole field and all their receivers. To me, they're really missing A.J. Brown, who's become one of the stories of this season, killing it for the Philadelphia Eagles. But they got Robert Woods and Westbrook-Akina, and that's about it. They're not getting a whole lot out of the receiving core, and that makes it tough on a young quarterback. Tannehill could make a play for those guys, but those receivers will have to make a play for Malik Willis. But you're still going to have to respect Willis. The RPO game's very much in play. He's a great runner and thrower. I think he's got a bright future. I loved him coming out of Liberty. But if he's the quarterback, it does limit the Titans, I think, in just the fact of just that overall polish and can he attack all parts of the field.
You mentioned how good the Titans defense has been on third down. The Chiefs offense has been super on third down. So a bit of irresistible force meets a movable object with that matchup. But what in your mind will be most critical for the Chiefs to do on first and second downs against this Titan defense, put themselves in good third down situation throughout the day?
Yeah, you got to think that four yards are wins here. Not that the Chiefs are going to run three-back option and play Smith Center football here, but you've got to think, don't be afraid to run, and a 4-yard run in this game is actually a pretty good thing, either on first or second down, whether that happens. So you can give yourself some manageable third down and keep all your playbook open, because that's imperative, I think, against this Tennessee defense. If you become predictable, you're in trouble against them. Now, the back end has struggled. They've given up a gob of 20-plus plays. But again, you've got to look at certain situations. I mean, they've won 5 straight games. Now, they've gone 8 straight games without scoring 30 points or more, but they've won 5 straight games slugging it out, 20-17, 19-17. The game last week against Houston, 17-10. And that's largely due to that defense clamping you down and getting you off the field. Well, if you're unpredictable, now all of a sudden you can attack that secondary who's got a lot to think about on their plate. Same with that front seven. So 4 yards in this game is a win in any offensive play, run or pass.
Mitch, before we let you go, do you have a nugget of the night for us as we get ready for another prime time Kansas City Chiefs game?
I might have dug out, and just in the last couple of hours working on this game, one of our better nuggets of the year. Okay. I think you hope the Chiefs can continue to roll on after their win over San Francisco and then shutting down for the bye. You realize last game against San Francisco, Marquez Valdes-Scantling had over 100 yards receiving, as did Juju Smith-Schuster. Now, it's the first time in the Mahomes era that the Chiefs have had 2 100-yard receiving days from anybody other than Kelsey or Tyreek Hill, one combination of the other, right? Kelsey and somebody else, Tyreek Hill and somebody else, or Kelsey and Tyreek Hill. This was the first time in a Mahomes that it wasn't Kelsey or obviously Tyreek Hill is long gone. But here's your nugget of the night as you go to Hy-Vee and do your shopping. It was the first time 2 wide receivers had 100 yards in the same game since week 10 of 2000, some 23 seasons ago, when it was, get ready for this, Derek Alexander and Sylvester Morris. That was a loss, by the way, to the Raiders, but that was the last time two wide receivers wearing Chiefs uniforms had 100 yards receiving in the same game.
Was not prepared for a Sylvester Morris reference on our chat with Mitch Holthus today.
Nor was anybody else listening to us.
But
they just drove off the road on Wanamaker.
Well, that's why you're the best. Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. He joins us every Thursday thanks to our friends at Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. Mitch, it's Sunday Night Football. It's the Titans. It's coming off the bye. Enjoy the call, and thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
It's Superman's Lex Luthor, but we got to get a little reverse kryptonite on these guys.
Yes, indeed. Thanks again, Mitch.
All right.
That is Mitch Holthus. We'll take a break. We'll come back and wrap up the show with a final word after this here on 580 Sports Talk.
WIVW, Topeka, FM 104.9.
One more thing. In conclusion, you better wrap it up.
Wrapping up, walking off this edition of 580 Sports Talk with the final word. We're going to have a little bit of overtime coming up in just a little bit. We'll have a conversation from Mic'd Up earlier today with Paul Meyerberg of USA Today talking Big 12 football, leading you up to Thursday Night Football tonight here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9 Houston hosting Philadelphia. But my final word is this, something we did not get to over the course of our 3 hours. They did touch on it, play some audio from it on Mic'd Up earlier today. And of course, you can find their podcast, same place you can find ours, 580WIBW.com. Matt Quatrero introduced today as the new manager of the Kansas City Royals, and he talked a lot about being a process-oriented manager. and not the process in the way that Dayton Moore used to mean it. He is going to use the best information available to him to make the best decisions he can possibly make as a manager. That's what you want to hear. However, information available to a manager is not just the cold, hard, numerical, statistical data. If he's able to take what he learned from working with Terry Francona over those years in Cleveland, the human touch, and apply that along with what he learned in Tampa Bay as the Rays bench coach, how to synthesize and interpret and best use that cold, hard numerical data, I think Matt Quatraro is going to be an excellent major league manager. I think he made a good first impression today. Thursday Night Football coming up, bottom of the hour. We'll have a little 580 Sports Talk overtime before that. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for texting the show. Thanks for checking us out on YouTube and checking out the podcast. We appreciate you so much. For Brendan, I'm Dan. This has been 580 Sports Talk.